Welcome back to the Crystal Star Studio E3 2012 podcast. We are broadcasting live on YouTube, which you can watch on your mobile device and your tablet while cooking a pizza from your oven, while everything in the world is being controlled by your refrigerator. So, yeah, just thought you...
But no, you cannot watch the stream from your freezer.
Yeah, you can't, no, not the freezer, though.
Wait.
It's too
This
cold
isn't
there.
live if it's being recorded before.
Who cares? Who cares? It works.
Is this a
Alive!
podcast?
Yes, this is a podcast. Anyway, I am Slim Kirby.
I am Megafig 400.
I'm the K-Man guy person.
I'm the king who doesn't want to be here. Actually,
What?
What? I'm what?
Nice to meet you, what? I'm Shadow Mario 41.
What?
Hey, what? This is The Last of Us, Power to Mario.
That's so funny.
Oh.
So
yeah.
this is a horrible intro. Anyway,
intros are overrated.
Yeah.
we're just parroting E3 in general.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so, like we said, this is the post-show of the Crystal Star Studio E3 2012 podcast. Whatever you want to call it, we don't have any better titles for it, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to go over all of the conferences that happened, mainly the big three, Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony, and we'll also talk about the two other conferences and any other updates that we got during the entire event of E3. It was a very interesting year, but we'll get into that
Oh
later.
wait, something happened?
Something happened?
Yes.
Apparently.
People talked. They showed off games. Different things.
South Park
And
app.
so,
Wow, just like every single E3. So, anyway,
Every single E3 has South Park and suck.
And Usher.
and Usher,
Usher.
yeah, lots of Usher. Well, because
Okay, well, let's
yeah,
get serious though. And
yeah, we're talking too much about references. Let's just go ahead and go from the beginning and just go from there. First off was Microsoft. Does anyone want to start with Microsoft?
Oh boy.
I'll start with saying that they started off strong with Halo 4. Not personally into it, but it actually looked good. Personally.
And not to spoil things, that's pretty much the only game from Microsoft that I've been gushing over ever since it happened. Even though, for some reason, people keep comparing it to Metroid Prime, and I might be stupid, but I just don't kind of see it.
I noticed that too, just because of the HUD. Because the HUD looks very
The HUD
similar.
looks
Mhm.
like it.
And frankly, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, if I did, I mean, a game like Metroid Prime with Halo, that wouldn't be too bad of a combination.
Retro Studios made Metroid Prime, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You think they're secretly working on Halo 4?
No.
Yeah.
That would be the craziest thing ever.
you
And
know,
then
it's funny.
And then
It's
Retro
funny
Studios
because
gets bought by Microsoft, and then they end up basically like Rare. Ha ha.
Banjo 4E.
No.
No.
Anyway.
Okay, PK,
So-
what are you trying to say, PK?
Yeah, finally, I get to say something. Who the hell cares about Rare?
Who?
Rare's dead now. They don't make anything good.
Why are we talking about Rare?
Watched up.
All right. Well.
Anyway, back to the conference.
Anyway, what happened? Was it Splinters? No. Was it Splinters? What happened after Halo 4? I can't remember.
Was it Ghost Recon Online or Splinter Cell?
It was Splinter Cell.
Splinter Cell.
Okay.
It was
And then
Splinter
after
Cell. was
that,
Splinter.
they kind of descended into...
Sports.
Well,
Now we're
sports-
all cursing.
Yeah, they talked a lot about what we expected they would. Although they did have Joe Montana on stage, that was pretty
Whatever.
Actually, He didn't do that bad a job. It was kind of basic, but he was professional. So.
It was cool. But yeah, they went on sports games for a while. Then they kind of. Oh, go ahead if you want to. Say what
I was saying, and then what they did, which I really heavily criticize, is they spent they had a trailer for Spanish TV and other things you can do with all these apps. And it's fine if they mention them, but it's like just mention them and move on. You don't need to have all this big trailers and all these other fancy gadgets about the fact that you can now watch more stuff on your Xbox.
Yeah, I think he
Right.
spent maybe a good 3 minutes making voice commands in Espanol for the Kinect voice recognition. Yeah.
Well, what they're
Honestly-
trying to do, they're trying to make the Xbox the media center of your living room, essentially. And Sony's trying to do the same thing with the PS3. We'll touch on them later. But that's why there was so much of a focus, and especially
Well,
Windows
Sony
8
is
coming out.
understandable because they have like technology in every
Yeah.
goddamn department. I mean, they have TVs,
Right.
they have cameras, they have all that sort of stuff. And I guess Microsoft's just trying to piss in their eye or something.
Big brother man.
Microsoft has
Yeah, Bill
the
Gates.
PC industry, obviously, and they're trying to incorporate it all with smart glass, which they talked about, which actually looks pretty cool if you're into tech stuff. But I was disappointed with the games. I think they focus too much on tech apps and stuff. I mean, you can watch YouTube, that's great. You can watch Hulu, that's great. You can use Internet
I have an
Explorer.
explanation.
Yes, finally, Internet Explorer, what we've all been waiting for on Xbox.
I think I have an explanation for this approach.
What?
Basically, Microsoft already knows that the people who love Xbox will keep buying the Xbox. They don't need many titles to keep themselves satisfied. Halo 4 will make them go crazy enough. I think that's the overlying theme of Xbox this year.
I almost would say that's
You
almost
love
like
it, and if you're not, it's not going to turn you into a fan.
PK. I would say the same about most every one of the big three. They come out. Most of them always come out with games they want to secure the market they have. That's pretty much what they do.
And I think another thing with this year, even though it was never mentioned, though technically jumping ahead to Sony, they didn't mention it, but it has been confirmed afterwards that the PS4 does exist. But it's quite possible that they didn't want to announce a ton of games for a system that, if the Xbox 720 or whatever they're going to call it does come out, is going to be obsolete fairly soon. So they wanted to kind of just focus on the tech for it, and I don't know, maybe it being applied to the new system. I don't know, maybe not. You would think, though, then if they're coming out with a new system, why would they spend so much time on tech either, for that matter?
I'm just surprised that they spent that much time on tech at all because, as you know, as they said in the beginning, it was like the Xbox had like a record sales for the system itself. And when you add tech, that just means you're trying to get more people to buy it, which now in retrospect that does make sense. But it's kind of weird seeing as you already have those, well, of course, more sales equals more sales, but I lost my train of thought. The point is...
Economics.
It's economics, yes.
Speaking of interesting like features and deals and whatnot, one of the biggest announcements was obviously Microsoft's partnership with Nike for like some kind of like Xbox shoes or whatever. I don't know.
Who the hell cares?
Here's the thing about Microsoft Commerce. It wasn't even that it was bad, but the most interesting part was the South Park portion where Matt and Trey kind of lambasted the entire conference. When your best part of your conference is people making fun of your conference, something's wrong a little bit in the world of Microsoft.
Yeah, that's...
And the South Park game looks good because they focused on the game. I mean,
It looks really good, yeah.
So I feel like that's the thing. I do think with at least Microsoft, other companies a little bit, but specifically with Microsoft, they didn't focus on any games and they just didn't show anything. You know, it's pretty much the same stuff we've seen before, and that's a theme of most of the conferences this year. But specifically to Microsoft, they didn't even focus on the games at all. They focused more on tech.
Yeah, I don't think they announced any new titles. They just kind of showed a lot of game. With the games that they did show, they showed a lot of gameplay of stuff that was already known.
In fairness, the only one that really didn't do that was Ubisoft.
Ubisoft, right?
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
And
fun.
by the way, guys, don't worry. I'm going to lambast the other two companies, too. I'm not just going to save it for Microsoft, because as PTM said, they're all playing it safe.
Yeah,
but this year was the year to do that.
It was a safe year, which honestly could build to next year being really not safe and be really kind of over the top. But we'll see next year, if there is a next year for that matter.
I do want to make a comment about
this is 2012. We might not have it next year.
Yeah, that's the smart glass technology. One parallel I noticed, I think Microsoft was watching Nintendo last year when they showed off the EA partnership that they're having with all the sports games. They showed off Madden specifically, where you could actually sketch out smart routes for your receivers in the game. And they briefly touched on that with the smart glass technology, where you have your tablet and you can actually sketch smart routes. But it looks better because it's got HD graphics on the tablet. So it's obviously better than the Wii U touchscreen, of course. So,
Obvi.
but
Go buy 5 now.
I did notice that. One cool thing I did like about Smart Glass, though, was they showed you if you're watching a movie, you can look up information on the movie on your tablet while you're watching it.
Yeah, that
which may seem useless, but I can picture actually doing that. Like if I was watching a movie and then I was like, I wonder where this was filmed, or I wonder who's in it, and I looked at my tablet and did it, and that would be pretty cool. Not
that is cool. Yeah.
But that's not much different than what we already have existing. Like, for example, on the 3DS, if I'm watching Netflix, I can quickly press the home menu and go to the web browser, even though the web browser sucks. The Opera web browser sucks.
Stops the movie.
But like, well, but they stopped the movie with the smart glass too, I believe. They didn't. You still had to pause the movie, and also, why would you want the movie to keep playing if you're looking up some information?
That's the beauty of the beauty of smart glass, though. What happens on the screen, like the tablet or your smartphone or whatever you use to communicate with the Xbox, it doesn't stop what's going on screen.
But then you could just use your laptop to do that. You see, I don't know. I didn't understand the whole smart glass thing.
See, you're watching Inception, and then you look down at the glass, and it's like, oh, Leonardo DiCaprio, what happened?
But if you're watching Inception on the TV, you have a laptop that I don't know. Maybe I'm
consider the technology that's being developed today. A lot of people have smartphones. A lot of people are getting tablets. So it's not much different with what Nintendo's doing. Nintendo's grandfathering in all their other controllers. Same with Microsoft. They're grandfathering in all the different devices they've already come out with.
But I'm just saying, I guess I don't understand the point of having, like, I guess I don't understand what the smart glass does. Why can't, if you have your iPhone, why can't you just look it up on your iPhone and watch
it's just
like, I don't know, it didn't seem to make sense to me.
It's just a couple less steps.
Consider this. You're watching a movie, right? Yeah. And you could look up information on the movie on your laptop, but your laptop is all the way on the other end of the room. Your tablet is right here.
Your laptop.
Okay, but why do you need to have smart glass in order to look up something on your tablet?
It's just less steps to take, honestly.
It's easier. It's all connected.
It just seemed kind of unnecessary in the long run.
You know what? Technology is unnecessary, but we always make connections in order to make things simpler.
I guess what I would do. I'm just kind of.
Go ahead, Mega.
Yeah, but
I want to hear what Kit would do.
I'm reserving judgment, I guess, because it doesn't look that impressive to me. But then again, I could be wrong.
I still don't understand why you would even want that. Honestly, I just don't get the fun, like the utility of tablets beyond like businesses and stuff.
And APK.
Me too.
Yes. Personally, I just fixate my attention on the movie, just watch the movie all the way through, and if I want to know what happens behind the scenes, I'll just look it up later.
But see,
you're old.
Old man.
No, but see, that's the thing. You're saying the smart glass specifically links to the movie because, like, you could still look it up during the movie, but why do you need the smart glass? That's what, because like you could have your tablet just search, Inception on your tablet while the movie's still playing.
It's also supposed to link together like music services and stuff too, so you could play a song on your computer or on your Xbox or on your phone all through the same thing.
Yay, cloud.
While watching a movie. In a movie.
Also, that brings up Microsoft's music or whatever their program
iTunes.
It's cloud computing. Cloud computing is the future, bro.
It's competing with iTunes, finally, because Zune did not compete with iTunes.
Zune.
Finally something's competing with iTunes.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to do a pretty good job, to be honest.
Never used iTunes. Just saying.
I just YouTube and just listen to music with my headphones, man.
Yeah.
I'm old-fashioned. I just like it that way.
So am I.
YouTube is old-fashioned?
Nowadays it is.
Yeah, pretty much. Nowadays it's old-fashioned.
It's been out for about...
Do you remember when YouTube used to be used just for music?
Okay.
School.
One of the things that we thought that Microsoft would probably do, and it was one of the things that we were really, really scared that it would do, would be focusing so much on the Kinect again, like they did the last 2 years. And I have to give them a little credit. They actually didn't focus that much on it. In fact,
they put a little bit of restraint this year.
Yeah. But the one thing they did kind of show off, which I thought was cool, but again, like it just seemed like it could have showed this off in earlier years, but one of the main things they focused on was the voice-enabling features of Kinect, and they did that with Splinter Cell, Blacklist, and then also
Spanish.
They did do stuff like that last year, though. They did that with Mass Effect. They did that with Mass Effect 3 mainly, but
Arguably, as much as I think that Microsoft's conference was one of the more boring ones, there's one that I'd say was a little bit more boring, but at least they focus on games. But anyway, the one thing with Microsoft, they focus on tech, but in terms of like games that are more like kid-based or more gamers who just kind of like casual stuff. The other two big three focused on that way more. The only thing that Microsoft really focused on was that one small section of Rocketeers.
Yeah.
That one, and then they also had like 3 new IPs that they kind of teased.
Mm-hmm.
They just briefly mentioned them.
Yeah, it's I have the 3 right here. It's Ascend, Lococycle, and Matter. I believe those are the 3 IPs.
I have no idea what Matter is. I don't think they even said
They
anything
just
about
said
it.
the name.
what any of those are.
It's actually pretty funny. Like I was talking to some people while that part of this that conference was going on. And in all 3 of those things, there was like one big thing that reminded us of like another game that's already been out. Like Ascend looked a lot like God of War, kind of. Lococycle
I also said,
looked like a Tron, and Matter almost looked like Portal a little bit because it had like just a floating eyeball thing that just.
Yeah, and Kingdom Hearts has like 2 or 3 of those.
Wait, you think they may not actually be titles for games? You think they may be like...
No, they are
Project
titles
games?
for games. He's saying that they look familiar to older games.
Maybe those are the companies that are working on those games.
No, I don't think they are.
No?
It's going to be like that Link vs. Gen and tech demo from so long ago.
Now that is old.
And Portal is Valve. Valve isn't making, I don't think, that one game. But Ascend also kind of looked like Shadow of the Colossus too a little bit.
Yeah, Ascend did. And let's see, I have a list here. I only have a list for the Microsoft conference of all things. But they also showed off more of Tomb Raider, which looked really, really cool at first. But then, like, they got into the screaming and moaning of the character, and that kind of was like, okay, so they haven't really changed that, because that was one of my main things about
Okay, a
last
bear
year.
is eating your face. Go.
I just hope they retain the puzzle elements of, even though the old Tomb Raider games were terrible.
I just
at
hope they
least have
maintain the
puzzle.
one core thing that Tomb Raider fans want.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, and it's not that the thing with Tomb Raider. I'm not saying it's a ripoff because it's not, but it's clear that they're kind of jumping on the Uncharted bandwagon because the style of their game does kind of a lot of companies
was
doing
based
that.
off that game essentially.
And it's kind of come full. It's kind of like the Aladdin with the Thief and the Cobbler. They just kind of inbreaded the game a little bit.
Oh wow,
then.
yeah, that's true.
You know what the difference between Uncharted and Tomb Raider is? Uncharted is actually good.
I thought it was
Political
Tomb Raider
statements.
has always been irrelevant. It's only been famous just because the chick has massive boobs.
I'd argue though, if Nathan Drake had boobs, Uncharted would be so much better.
And by the way, boobs will come up at least one other time during
Yeah.
this podcast.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Sorry, PCM, it
All right.
has to come up at some point.
Let's keep on track, though. Let's
Okay,
move on.
so I think that's enough of Microsoft. The only other
Wait,
big thing was
Usher. You're not talking about Usher.
No, not worth mentioning. Let's
It was
move on.
weird that the Usher concert just randomly.
If you need a celebrity to make your conference infinitesimally better, no.
Microsoft always does that too. They always.
Listen, Usher was terrible at the halftime show at the Super Bowl. He was terrible at this conference, okay? It's awful.
But you're forgetting one thing. Usher.
Okay.
Also, the late after. We are ushering in a new era.
Yeah, that was the best part, I think, when someone mentioned that. That was
A new era of mediocrity.
before we do.
Disclaimer.
Oh, go ahead.
Quick disclaimer to any Tomb Raider fans out there who might be angry with me. I've played through all of Tomb Raider 3, alright? People say that's a really good game in the series, and it still sucks. Just say it. Let's move on.
Before we move on to the next one, though, just a few other titles, just so we don't anger anybody. But they also showed off a few different trailers of Fable: The Journey,
Oh my God.
Gears of War: Judgment, Forza Horizon, Resident Evil 6, which personally I thought looked really cool.
Actually, yeah, that did look pretty cool.
See, this is something that kind of disappointed me about Microsoft. I was really, really hoping that they were just going to go on Halo and COD. I thought, Gears of War would get some downtime or something, and, like some of these other shooters, like they wouldn't focus too much on them. They did.
Yeah, they focused a lot on Black Ops 2.
Hey man, Black Ops 2.
Yeah, I didn't
It's
see
blacker
that part.
than Black Ops 1.
They had like a 15-minute gameplay
It was
of
like
Black Ops 2.
it was 20 minutes. It was not
20?
15.
Wow.
It was really long. Like
It's that long.
I made dinner like during that, and like,
So we know what Call of Duty is. We don't need a 20-minute gameplay thing to
yeah,
show.
really.
Halo,
That
I don't
just
think
seemed
Halo was
unnecessary.
even that long.
It wasn't. Halo
No,
was
Halo
only
was
like 5 minutes at the very least, and
What do we want to give a grade for each of these conferences? I think that's.
I
a
don't
bit
think it's
arbitrary.
necessary, honestly.
No.
Great for losers.
Overall, Microsoft was better than last year. I guess I'll summarize. Start summarizing. I think it was better than last year. It definitely. I wish they would have focused more on games, but again, I after seeing all the other ones, I can't really fault them too much because no one else did as much. But they focused way too much on technology, and I think if they're coming next year, they need to back off on the technology and have new games.
Yeah, my opinion on Microsoft is that really there was only one direction they could go from last year, and that was ups.
Yeah, new games, please, Microsoft.
Yeah.
Thank you.
so
New IPs, rather.
Yes, exactly.
And no shooters. We have enough shooters, thank you.
Yep. we
yeah,
got-
come on, shooters. We've seen enough of that. Okay, so I guess after Microsoft, let's move on to the second big conference, which I believe was Sony. So anyone want to get started?
I'll let the Sony fanboy talk. Go ahead, SM.
Go ahead,
Shut
Eric.
up. Well, I did think the Sony press conference was the best one out of the big three.
You went in
wanna-
thinking
I
it was the
actually
best
wanna
one.
agree with SM there, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it was the one, I mean, it was the one, in fairness, that I got to see all of, because the other two were during my, like, work period.
Right.
But, like, I just haven't bothered looking at the video. Like, I have looked at some of the videos for, like, Nintendo and Microsoft, but, like, beyond, like, Halo 4 and, well, yeah, pretty much Halo 4, I wasn't really interested in, like, watching them all the way through, so.
Right.
I haven't even seen Sony's. I can agree with SM, but we'll get to that once we get to Nintendo.
One thing
I personally
Hey,
disagree,
hey,
but
this is
I had
so-
to provide the opposing argument.
Don't
but
be negative Nancy over there.
I'm
That's
not.
my
We're being objective.
All right.
Mar.
Anyway, I love how they opened with an IP. I loved how they opened with a new franchise. Whether or not it'll be good, that's questionable.
Are you talking about Beyond Two Souls?
No, Heavy
I
Rain.
am. I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, have you?
No, it was Beyond. It was by the makers of Heavy Rain.
See-
Beyond Souls.
Oh, okay.
Or
My bad.
Beyond. What?
Yeah, it is Beyond.
Beyond.
But it
Yes.
looked really cool. It looked really suspenseful, and it was something different because it wasn't an action trailer. It was like a suspense.
It was
mystery-
a cinematic trailer. I do kind of
cinematic
wish
trailer.
it showed
I
a
like
bit
it.
of gameplay at least, because it kind of just showed like one cutscene and then the trailer, which had just like a bunch of crazy shit. But
Right.
yeah,
This is
I
why.
liked the start.
Well,
That was a good start.
let me say one thing. This is, and just to start, the one thing I have a problem with Sony's conference, and why there's one conference I think that did the best job. Sony was really focused on one type of gameplay. Their two biggest titles, arguably, were both interactive movie type games, and I mean that's not necessarily a bad thing, but that's what they, Beyond is made by the creator of Heavy Rain. That's kind of this. It's cinematic. That's what
but
it is.
in fairness, that is the type of game that's getting them the most amount of money at this point. So.
It's getting
And
the most money
besides
and the most
shooters.
popularity.
And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's a bad thing, but what I'm saying is, they mentioned they had Sly 4 last year. They didn't have enough variety, I feel. So, like, if they had more variety, then I would fully give Sony the win. But the problem is,
Sony had. I don't know. I will honestly think they had a bit of variety. I mean, they did have like one shooter. They had action adventure games. They had the cinematic games.
They did patchwork a lot of different kind of games, but they focused on a specific variety game, which I think Meg is getting at.
and
Yeah.
they focused really heavily on realism. And I'm probably biased because I really think realism is boring. I know I am, but I'll explain a little bit more on my opinion when we get to the last game. But for now, for Beyond,
That's last in the title.
but for now, my problem with Beyond is I don't know. I'm not interested in movie games, so for me, it's just like, okay, yeah, it's cool.
For those
I haven't
who
played
don't
it.
know, Mega Freak is our resident animation major from New York.
I'm not trying to be, but
Trying.
Well,
But you
let me
are.
say something about Beyond. I am interested because the main character is being played by Ellen Page.
I'm not.
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
Hey, I actually liked the movie Juno, and this character...
Be honest, PK, you love her for the boobs.
No,
Talking about something.
I mean, I'll say something positive though. The trailer for Beyond was good, but it doesn't interest me as being a game. That's not, you know what I mean? Like, it looked good for a movie. I'd be interested in watching that as a movie, but as a game, I don't. That's not something I'm interested in. So for me, it just is a turn off.
I'm skeptical of how good the game will be too, but I mean, for now, I'm just gonna call it Juno with psychic powers.
pregnant teenage girl has psychic powers.
So yeah, I won't judge the game yet. It did look decent, but I am skeptical about how the gameplay will be.
Their next big thing was I'm interested to see what PK has to say about this specifically, because you go to all those Smash Brothers tournaments and stuff.
Yes.
And you're really into it. But
Yes.
PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, which is necessary as a subtitle, was released or was shown, and there was a gameplay footage. There was actually a match, which I thought was good. I'm glad they didn't just show a trailer. I'm glad they actually played the game on stage. So I'm interested to see what you thought about it.
All right, first up, I'll start with this sentence. It's basically like an incredibly floaty stamina match with Street Fighter super bars.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
I mean, it does look fun, but I'm not sure how long it can keep the gamer's attention. I mean, it depends on how varied the movesets are, how many moves per character, what type of... I don't know how deep the game goes. With Smash Bros., there was a lot of hidden depth. I guess I'll have to, play the game myself and see how far the foxhole goes.
Right.
I was excited because when I saw the special bars, like PK had mentioned, kind of related to the Street Fighter series, I was really excited to see those supers. And they don't really, like when we saw the demo match, it didn't assure them a victory at all.
Right.
I mean, that's actually the game that was probably most interesting for me during the conference. As much as it's kind of hard to deny that it's definitely taking a cue from Smash Bros. But it looked fun. It looked like it would be interesting to play. And I mean, clone or not, if it's fun, it's fun.
Yeah.
Plus, we've only seen like 6 to 8 characters so far that are going to be in it. So,
By the way, that Ratchet and Clank level, Metropolis,
That was
shout out
cool.
to our LP.
yeah,
Yeah, Sony shouted out CSS there.
clearly. So,
So-
I mean, we've only seen 6 to 8 characters. So, I mean, the roster size could still be well over 20. So, there's still a lot of depth left, I think.
And that's still not as much as Brawl.
And the supers are definitely better than Final Smashes, for the record.
Yes, they are. And there's 3, I think there's 3 tiers of...
There's 3 different levels, yeah.
So PK, are you gonna main Fat Princess?
I've probably made Sweet Tooth, actually, just blow up people in my neck.
Parappa the Rapper, man. Come on.
Parappa the
Rapper. One thing I was kind of disappointed about was I know they announced, didn't they announce Vita last year?
Yeah.
They didn't really talk much about
They
Vita,
did not
actually.
really talk about Vita. They talked about one game they're going to bundle it with the Vita is Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation, which is
Right.
the Southern Colony spin-off of Assassin's Creed.
And honestly, I might just be like a fair weather fan, or like I don't know, like I feel weak for saying this, but like I'm really infatuated with that game. Like I was extremely impressed with how it looked, and to the point that I may actually get that bundle when it comes out. Like that would be like I have a PSP and I have like 4 games on it, and because I just haven't bothered getting any of the other games. But I mean honestly, that I would get the PS Vita just to get that. Not to mention that there are some other good games on it too. I just haven't really looked.
I'm kind of interested to see if they may make a 3DS for that too, because they took a really strong leap for that the Wii U announcement when they said they would port Assassin's Creed 3 to the Wii U. So I wonder if they may make the Liberation for 3DS as well.
Liberation.
Overall, though, handheld gaming in general was kind of sidelined during this, which disappointing to me because I'm kind of leaning toward being a more handheld-oriented gamer. But from what they did show for all the conferences, still some focus. But yeah, Vita was just kind of underplayed overall.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I really expected more too, just because like that was the big thing last year. That's what kind of made their conference last year. So
Right.
Now, what else what happened next?
Far
I
Cry.
love how
Far Cry.
well, they dipped in. Well, they went to Far Cry, which was really cool. I like the co-op. Anything?
Well, yeah,
like
that's
how
all they really
focused
showed
on
about
co-op.
that because EA got to.
Oh, yeah, that thing.
And Assassin's
Co-op.
Creed 3 as well. I believe they showed more
And then
footage of
Assassin's
that.
Creed 3, they showed the boat thing.
Oh, yeah, that was fun.
Yeah,
That
that
was-
was pretty cool.
Now the biggest fault, and I kind of defended it more, but the biggest flop in Sony's was they spent way too much, like an obscene amount of a horribly obscene amount of time on the Wonder Book thing.
Wonder Book!
Oh my
And-
god, yeah, they did.
Screw the Wonder Book. I don't
I think-
care about Harry Potter magic. The
Yes.
books and the
But
movies,
why?
those
We don't
are-
have to read anymore.
But PK,
Days of reading
PK,
are gone.
I
I
want
think it's
Book.
Well, I think it's good for kids. I think it looks interesting, but like it started, I'm like, okay, yeah, I could see this being good for kids, and they kept going and going, and
Yeah.
I'm sorry, all the conferences, as much as you can fault all the other three conferences, that was the worst section of any conference I think.
Yeah,
has
I
gone
had
on
to
so
like
long.
just because of that one awkward moment for that one woman who was apparently supposed to be a professional.
Oh, yeah. Those
Presentator
were-
like that spent like probably almost like 3 solid minutes of just going like, eh.
Oh, I know what she was. That was my favorite part of the whole thing. She was trying to cast Incendio, and she forgot the motion you had to make, so she started making 4s on the screen. Just like
And it was like
4.
a sideways B, yeah.
That was pretty fair.
Another
and I
thing
feel
I don't like about motion-intensive games in general, they all pretty much degenerate into mini-game collections. Seriously.
No, I agree with you there. They're aside from like a few examples, like I'll use Skyward Sword because that is a good example. There's very few examples of motion gaming on all three systems that actually have some depth to them besides just look, we can play mini games, and mini games are fun, but if you're not going to go beyond that, then don't bother with it.
I agree.
I think the saddest thing about the Wonder Book thing was, what were they using for a camera? Was it something new?
No, it was the Sony. No, what was something? It's something that already exists, but it's something.
It's like an AR eye toy. That's what it reminds me of, and it looked awful. Like when I was looking on the displays on the TV, and it looked awful. No, it was not clear. There was no clarity. It wasn't high
I
definition.
don't know how good it's going to be.
But yeah, I think, and I feel like no one really. People criticized Microsoft, people criticized Nintendo, which we'll get to later. But that seemed to it seemed like people just ignored that. And I'm like, that was the worst part of the whole E3 because they spent so much damn time on it.
I agree.
And I think that was worse than what some of Microsoft's shenanigans last year with Kinect because it's just like it almost felt like Sony was doing pretty good, then just suddenly plummeted. Then they picked themselves back up, but
They
that
did
whole
pick themselves
section
back
was
up.
just. But yeah, I don't think the Wonder Book's bad. I don't know why they spent so much time on it.
Yeah.
They did spend a lot of time. But one thing I'm glad they didn't spend a lot of time on was their tech, which they are integrating a lot of new things into PSN, which is good because they do need to compete with Xbox Live.
Wait, let's not forget
just-
their partnership with AT&T.
Their partnership.
But they just kind of
Sucks.
they did better than Microsoft on that because they just kind of mentioned it and then moved on, and that's
They're
what.
like, here's the tech we're doing. It's going to be ready. This is what it's going
Right.
to do. That's it.
If they did that with Wonder Book, Sony probably had my vote for best conference. But
Yeah,
And
I
mean-
honestly, it's kind of interesting how people keep saying, you spent too much time on Vita. And they didn't really spend that much time at all.
No, they didn't.
yeah, who said that?
On Vita.
Who said that they spent a lot of time on Vita? Vita probably got maybe 5 to 10 minutes at most at the whole conference.
I
That's
think
true.
you made that up.
I said they spent a lot of time on it last year. I didn't say it this year.
Oh,
Last year.
last year, definitely.
Now, aside from that, I think the only other major things were they showed off God of War, Ascension,
Yeah.
Ascension, yeah.
and
God
then
of War Ascension looks so good.
Yeah.
For a God of War game, like that style of action, like flashy, crazy combos, it just looked incredible.
Yeah, I think
All
we
the God
were
of
on a Skype call, right, Eric? When
We were.
And I was looking at it, I was like, what is this? He's taking the goat's horns and he's tearing his head off. Like, what is that?
You must be new to this
Oh,
series.
cool. You must be around.
It's like,
We've been
and the
doing that
body is still moving.
Guys,
God of
I only
War.
have one bad thing to say about the God of War series in general. Please take out the QuickTime event mini games. Please.
Oh, they're
I
still
don't-
there. They're
I
still there.
hate QuickTime events. They're so.
Stick to combat. God of War does combat better than almost any action game I've ever seen. So stick to that.
QuickTime stuff is still there, I think. But what's new is co-op in the God of War Ascension. a cooperative mode, which
Two Kratoses?
it's Kratos and like his minion. I think you play
Lloyd? Is it Lloyd?
Luigi?
Yeah, Lloyd.
Kratos and Lloyd. Hell
Kratos
yeah.
and Zelos.
Oh dear.
But no, it looks like if you thought God of War with one player was really good, imagine two players killing enemies like that at the same time.
No. Even better. Kratos and Kratos Arion.
Yes, that was what we were going with that.
Great!
But arguably the thing that a lot of people talked about, and I want to kind of get in this, and SM obviously was too, was what they ended on, which they ended on a good game, but they ended on The Last of Us.
Yeah, the Uncharted spinoff.
Well,
They ended on the bleep of us.
Okay, now here's what I'm going to mention real quick, and obviously Naughty Dog made Uncharted. And obviously that was a very successful franchise, and that's kind of becoming the new shooter in a way because people want to go in that kind of style. Fair enough. Imagine Nintendo said they were, or I'm going to use Nintendo, but any company said they're making a new IP, and their new game that they're coming out with pretty much looks exactly like, in terms of style, New Super Mario Bros. Has the exact same, pretty much the characters very similar. Maybe Mario has a goatee as opposed to a mustache, a few little differences, but pretty much it's a new character and it has a different name, but it looks pretty much kind of like Mario. And that's the game, and they're saying it's a new IP. There's a few new changes, but for the most part, it's pretty much the same game. It's pretty much New Super Mario Bros., but it has a different title. That's what The Last of Us came across to me. It didn't look like its own thing. It looked like, oh, it's Uncharted, but with a new story.
Yes.
And that's why it kind of didn't hit me. It looks cool. It looks like it's gonna be a good game. But it just didn't feel like its own thing compared to some of the other, compared to probably my favorite realistic game that was showed off, which we'll get to later. But in terms of the other one I'm talking about actually felt like its own game. The Last of Us just felt like Uncharted, which isn't a bad thing. But I wish they would have, I feel like I wish they would have made Uncharted 4 as opposed to The Last of Us because it just looked like it didn't look like its own.
My only complaint about the gameplay that they showed is that they're selling it a lot on the whole zombie apocalypse thing, and they didn't really show a lot.
No
of
zombies.
They didn't show
Yeah.
zombies. But I think
Zombie
they want to keep them for like a surprise, maybe.
But I didn't even get that. It just seemed like he was exploring an ancient temple. Is what I.
Hey, like a treasure hunter would, right?
Like I said, it didn't. Even the environment, it didn't. I don't know.
I don't think that was a temple. I think that was
No, it was like a
city.
City. Like
What do you think, SM? Because obviously you like.
See, I'm totally on the different end of the spectrum. I agree with everything you said with why it looks like Uncharted and all that, but that's why I think it's going to be fantastic. Not why I'm disappointed by it. That's why I'm excited over it because I've obviously played all the Uncharted games and I thought they were phenomenal. And this game looks to be. I wouldn't have rather seen Uncharted 4. I think they kind of did the treasure hunting thing too much. I mean, you can only go over the top treasure hunter so many times before you can't really do much more crazy things than you've already done. I mean, in Uncharted 3, there was that whole plane scene and the boat scene. I mean, there were just some ridiculous, cool, but ridiculous things. You can't really continue to top them. So I'm glad that The Last of Us is going in a different direction with the whole Uncharted format, and I think it's going to be really successful because of that. And the main character is a different kind of guy. He's not, the brave, macho, sarcastic treasure hunter that Drake is. He's very quiet. He's very reserved. I don't think he wants to be in the position he's in. He doesn't want to fight. I don't know.
I didn't really get any of that, and I almost feel like they could have easily fixed it, like putting it in a different environment, because you're saying it's zombie apocalypse. I didn't get that read at all, and actually, This is the one time that I will argue if they're doing if it's a zombie apocalypse, make the game darker because it looked too bright and cheerful. And I know I usually say no, games need more color, but this would be an example of I didn't get that mood at all. I didn't think there was anything.
Are you telling me that killing zombies isn't bright and cheerful?
Well,
you're thinking of Plants vs. Zombies.
But I don't know. I think I need to see more of it because they could have. But from what I've seen right now, it doesn't look like it's giving me anything new to the table. What do you think, PK?
Well, I think that this is the kind of game that makes or breaks, depending on its story. And I don't think we got enough details about the story. I can't really get a good read on it. All I know is that it involves zombies and survival, and a little girl tagging along with you. I don't know much else. I need to know the story. The story's playing a huge role here.
Yeah, what this game reminds me of, and this is kind of convoluted, but you remember the Nicolas Cage in Kick-Ass? You remember him and his daughter? It reminds me of those two in I Am Legend in a video game.
You're killing me on the inside by comparing it to Nicolas Cage.
But the one thing I gleaned from what Mega was saying about the game was it just, oh my goodness. Outside of the characters, maybe it feels like an Uncharted game.
But that's a good thing.
But that could be a good thing. But
it's a good thing. Uncharted was fantastic.
But I think the only thing it can really set itself apart from Uncharted is the story. There's not much else you can say sets it apart from Uncharted.
If it shows more environments, I think that could be fine, and just the characterization. But I don't know. Like I said, it's one of those things that at the first glance, I think that just you need to see more of it. And I'm sure Naughty Dog will do a good job with the game because they're a good studio. I kind of, I wish they would have had, it felt like its own entity, and it feels like more of, it's Uncharted Deluxe, or,
I think we still have a lot more to see.
Yeah.
Not to be punny, but...
I know I'm being a dead horse, I'm sorry.
This won't be the last of The Last of Us.
All right. So, what else did Sony show? I mean,
that's what they ended on. That was it. Yeah. But I think they did the best out of all three because for the reason that they focused on games and for the most part, besides Wonder Book, let's not talk about that. They gave the people what they wanted. They gave the gamers the games that they wanted. They wanted The Last of Us. They wanted a new God of War. They wanted, PlayStation All-Stars is really hyped. So they
wanted AT&T.
Far Cry and co-op, that's what they wanted to see, and that's what they saw. And Assassin's Creed. So
of the big three, they definitely did better than Microsoft, but I don't know. I think it just depends on your perspective. Is what I think it is down to personally. I think that for me, I wasn't that really interested in most of this stuff, so for me, they weren't as good as obviously there's only one left, so Nintendo. But I can see why people would like Sony better, so I think it's more of a toss-up. I don't think there's one clear... Right. Honestly, for all of them, I don't think there's one clear winner. I think you could probably much say either all of them lost or all of them were average of the big three.
I mean, we kind of established already that all three of the console-making companies that had conferences this year really just secured their market of players and
the
just
console war is over. They all suck.
I couldn't agree more.
PC gaming. Let's bring it back.
There's no PC. Yeah.
It's on the rise.
It doesn't exist.
PC gaming is on the rise again.
Hey, how about that Steam box?
Steam box? Nothing happened with that.
Diablo 3. Don't forget about that.
It's already out. Whatever.
It's awesome.
Okay.
Let's go into Nintendo.
Actually, before I kind of want to give my thoughts because I didn't really get to give my thoughts on that. But
okay.
I think kind of like
actually give your thoughts. Give your thoughts for a good 2 minutes because I need to.
Okay.
Be right back.
Okay, fine. Anyway, I think Mega kind of said it best in the pre-show that we made. Basically, all Sony had to do was play it safe, and I feel like they definitely did that. But they also did kind of go outside the box too. I mean, maybe not too much, but they did. Like SM said, they did show off a lot of stuff that, gamers really wanted. The Last of Us looked really cool. Again, the PlayStation Smash Brothers, I can't call it by its real name. I mean, that stuff is very anticipated by people, and I think that because of that, Sony definitely did have a really great conference, and I'm honestly, still on the fence about which conference actually won between, Sony and the next one, but we'll go into that later. And another thing I also want to say really quickly is, I kind of agree with what Mega said with the whole, Uncharted, Last of Us thing. And I kind of wanted to bring up the point that I feel like both Sony and Microsoft really don't know what new IPs actually mean, because I feel I feel like at the very end of the Microsoft conference, I know we're kind of going back to that, but they were announcing they were doing this whole new game, and it was freaking Black Ops 2. So it's it's not what do you think it means? It's not just a change of gameplay. It means a new series, one that's unique, like Pikmin was when it first came out back in 2001, I think.
Speaking of which,
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. I want to embellish what Rob said. Rob hit that 100% on the head.
By the way, Slim Kirby's name is Rob.
Yeah,
Whatever. They know
whatever. I like using names. Anyway, Slim Kirby hit it 100% nail on the head. I heard specifically Sony talking about towards the beginning of the conference that, we got some great new IPs for all you Sony fans that you've been waiting for and everything. They said that. Mm-hmm. So when you say that, you got to know what you're saying.
Yeah. And I feel like kind of like the next conference, the people in charge of that actually have a little better idea of what that means. And, well, obviously the next conference is Nintendo, and I'm going to let Mr. K-Man start it off because...
Resident Pikmin expert.
Resident Pikmin expert.
Oh,
go ahead.
My turn to talk. All right, so oddly enough, not only did they actually announce Pikmin 3, it was the first thing to be announced in the conference. Like, it was kind of weird to see it announced before any sort of introduction with the Wii U, because it is announced and it is for the Wii U. And so far... Now, I was really expecting to be disappointed just because I felt like they would change up a lot of things with the series just because it's been a long time. I kind of felt like it would kind of fall under the same fate that Banjo-Kazooie kind of fell into with Nuts and Bolts, just a completely different game. Not exactly that they would change it to that degree, but that there would be enough changes to which I'd kind of be dissatisfied. Oddly enough, after that trailer, there was not one thing that I would have changed. Mm-hmm. I was very satisfied with how Pikmin 3 looked, and the fact that they're using the Wii U not as some gimmicky little contraption in order to make things completely more complex and more realistic with motion controls, but it actually has strategic use when you use the new controller with the screen, and it was a step in the right direction. There wasn't anything that they just, was an unnecessary step just to try and get some little casual crowd. I think Pikmin 3 is finally the fan service that the Pikmin crowd has been wanting for like the past 5 or 6 years. Some things that I might be a little weary about, the Rock Pikmin might be the return of the Purple Pikmin. I have no idea because that's what it came off to me as, is they might be the return of the Purple Pikmin. In which case, little plug, if you haven't seen my LP, I do call the Purple Pikmin completely broken. And they completely break Pikmin 2
like
in a
Colin.
sense. Yeah, they break the combat aspect of Pikmin 2. But then again, I don't think we saw much about the combat in the Pikmin 3.
Well, there is some show floor footage that if you want to check that out that has like more actual gameplay a little bit. So that might interest you after this podcast. Check that out, K-Man, because the trailer didn't really show it off, but there is actual good footage of people playing.
Yeah, I think they showed off like a boss battle. Preface: I've never played Pikmin before. I just saw the conference and what they showed. But the one application with the Rock Pikmin is that it can break through shielding of different enemies. So there's already a more variable application than with the Purple Pikmin, obviously.
See, I guess what I'm kind of seeing is that I think the Rock Pikmin is Nintendo's second attempt at what they tried to do with the Purple Pikmin without completely breaking them. And so I'm hoping that Nintendo's nerfing them, and it's not just a reskin of the Purple Pikmin.
Yeah, I think it's more utility.
Green Pikmin.
Yeah.
Well, they did have a flying Pikmin at some point, it looked like.
But it looked red.
Yeah.
It looked pink to me, but whatever.
Speaking of purple and white Pikmin, neither of which I think we're seen, so we might not even see the return of those two Pikmin.
We didn't see it at all.
They all died.
Extinction.
In the ship's hole.
I think this is a different planet, isn't it?
I don't think so.
Different characters, I think. I think they showed
there's four. Yeah, there's up to 4 different captains, and there's going to be multiplayer.
Is it? I think, didn't they say Louis was still one of them?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah,
Louis is
I didn't
one of
hear
them.
That, but yeah, like
I saw Louis.
Olimar's not in the game. Well, he might be like story-wise, but like in terms of gameplay.
Yeah, gameplay Olimar's not in there. I'm going to bet like $1,000 that it's probably a story thing because honestly, I don't know where they would have taken the story from Pikmin 2 and it lead itself into. So it's probably like that.
They showed gameplay with the 4 different. Well, they didn't show gameplay with the 4 different ones, but they said that with the 4 different captains, you can switch between the captains around the map.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting too. Well,
and you can throw captains too.
Yeah, throwing captains.
Olimar's probably the new president. I'm betting on that.
That could be the case.
The one thing, and I'm not a graphics whore by any means, but the one thing that was amazing about it, and this is why I wish a lot of the games on like 360 and PS3 had more color, because compared Pikmin 3 to Pikmin 2 screenshots, it's just gorgeous. It's beautiful. Yeah. The HD really does. It really. I mean, I think you could play a game without HD and it looks fine, but the colors, it's crisp. It looks just gorgeous. It really gets the sense of nature. It's I'm glad they started off with that because it just really looks like a really great game, and it's a gorgeous looking game.
It was fantastic to finally see a Nintendo game in its bright and vibrant style in HD like
and
that.
We're going to be seeing a lot more of those kind of games, definitely.
Not that like you said, graphics are the make or break, but I mean, it is time for the HD to become the standard. So
yeah, Nintendo is essentially playing catch up at this point. I mean, that's just the kind of the whole thing with the Wii U and why we didn't really see a new console, because I don't think Sony and Microsoft are really that threatened by it.
Right.
Well, PS4 has been technically confirmed.
Yeah,
but I mean, we would have seen something if they were really desperate about like heading off the Wii U. Like, you saw how desperate Microsoft was to get the Xbox 360 out, even though it cost them $1 million, as we said. They were desperate to beat out the Wii and the PlayStation 3. And honestly, if Sony and Microsoft were a bit more concerned, we'd have seen more. We wouldn't have just heard like a rumor from Sony and nothing from Xbox. We would have heard something.
Yeah.
Do you think that same desperation was part of the cause of the Red Rings of Death?
Probably.
It was probably
rushing and manufacturing is definitely a cause.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even PlayStation was a little bit guilty of that, but then again, it took a long time for those issues to start developing.
It was better. It was better than the PlayStation 2. Like, PlayStation 2 had like a lot of hardware problems, I think.
Okay, well, anyway, getting back to the unless Meg has something he really needs to say, otherwise he might explode.
Well, I was going to start talking about the conference on a whole.
Yes. Well, I'm just wrapping up. My thoughts is that Pikmin 3, I am extremely happy with most of the change, or everything that I saw. I don't think there's not one thing other than the rock Pikmin and however combat will work, but once I see that trailer, my worries might be a little relieved. But all in all, I was really happy with Pikmin 3. I don't know if Slim or anyone else wants to say something about it.
Oh, you pretty much hit the nail on the head, like with everything I'd say. It looks like a gorgeous game. It looks very interesting to play, and like even the little details just like really, really impress me. Like there was one point where I saw when the Pikmin were like building a bridge, and like they don't actually just like just the sticks don't just like appear like they do in the old games. You actually see the Pikmin like carrying the stones to actually build the bridge. It looked really, really neat, and I really liked it. So yeah, I think it's going to be a great game.
The aesthetic changes were definitely really nice.
You know what would be funny? If Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon included a trailer video for Pikmin 3.
Well, hey, we're getting ourselves a little bit, though, PK. You're jumping the gun.
Yeah.
But anyway, the one thing I want to say before we start getting into the other stuff that was shown in the games, the one thing, reason why I do think Nintendo had one of the better, at least professional conferences, they had for the most part until the end, a good pacing.
Yeah.
Went through things not too. I don't think they went too fast. They went through things pretty well. Yeah. They mentioned, the Wii U's going to have Amazon and Netflix, and then just moved on. They didn't on it. They just kind of mentioned it casually and continued onward. And then they started getting into showing more games. And a game and this is the one complaint that I can agree with, but it doesn't affect me because I don't think I'm the only one. I think I'm one of the few people here who only has a Wii and doesn't have the other two systems, or one of the other two systems. So, and I don't have that good of a PC either. So, a lot of the third-party games that were announced for, and you can see there's some third-party support, and some of the games they're having are like, games that
are really powerhouses in terms of graphics, but a lot of them are already released, or like Assassin's Creed 3 I think that's the only one that hasn't been released yet. But like the major game that I'm looking forward to personally is Batman Arkham City Armored Edition, and that game's already a year old. But I loved playing Arkham City, and having all the DLC will be on the game disc for this, and having the ability to use the gamepad for quick item management and all that. I'm looking forward to that personally. I know it's an old game, but like I said, I don't have the other systems, so it doesn't affect me.
I was wondering how that was going to be. It should work fine, because, I mean, we saw how well that worked with Ocarina of Time's remake.
Yeah, with the item management quickly.
Yeah.
People actually complained about that after the conference, though, about
people
Arkham
get
City.
butthurt about everything.
I know. I'm surprised. I thought that looked really cool. How they used the you can use the Wii U controller to control that remote. I don't remember what he was using in the demo.
Batarang.
The Batarang. Yeah.
Batman, man, in Batman.
Batman.
Yeah.
I'm Batman.
But yeah.
Where's Rachel?
Arkham City's a great game, and even though it is technically an older game, I don't mind having that for launch, because especially when you think about it, think of the Wii launch. The only big title for the Wii launch was Twilight Princess, and that was a GameCube game. So honestly, having Arkham City, even if it's an old game, as a launch, and then having Pikmin 3 in the launch title, I'm happy with that. That's better than what we have for the Wii, in my opinion.
I think Assassin's Creed 3 is a launch title, too.
I think it might be.
So
I agree.
I'm excited for that. That looks really cool.
Oh, quick note about the Wii U, by the way. This kind of ties in with what we talked about earlier, but now that the Wii U is HD capable, multi-platform releases are actually reasonable. Because I remember on the Wii, you'd get like watered-down versions of Call of Duty and other like staple games on PS3 and 360.
Right.
I give them a lot of credit for COD 4 Reflex. Modern Warfare Reflex. That was the online they had was actually pretty decent, and they also had Conduit too. I'm actually hoping for a Conduit release too.
That's right.
Well, didn't Conduit 2 already come out?
It's already out for Wii.
Now, other third-party games, Scribblenauts Unlimited, which looks good, not really my cup of tea. And then, I don't know if we want to talk about, I think I'll talk about one now, but Ubisoft has been showing great Wii U support, and the only one I almost feel like they shouldn't have showed it during there, because Ubisoft already had its conference, but they did show actual Zombie U gameplay.
Yeah.
And that game at first I was kind of turned off by a little bit, like more of, okay. But there's a whole concept whereas when you die in that game, you're dead. Your character that you were playing as becomes a zombie, and you dropped in as a new survivor in that game. And
it's a very hardcore game, honestly.
Yeah.
Like it's a return to the difficulty of the older games.
And that just it reminded me a little bit of, to appease us, Minecraft, but it seemed really, dying and then having your character become a zombie. That to me, it kind of is interesting and really kind of not really a new concept necessarily, but it made me more interested in the game than I was, and I might actually even pick it up because of that kind of forward-thinking motion a little bit. But Ubisoft had a bunch of games, specifically, obviously, Rayman Legends, but we'll talk about that when we get to the Ubisoft's conference.
Right.
Hey, let's just say the non-specific action figure of Pooh.
Okay.
You want to know something else?
What?
I think the zombie craze is getting a little overdone in video games, TV, and movies, but
It's like with vampires, though. Vampires have its thing.
Somehow I keep getting drawn to these games. It's like it almost never goes out of style, so it's amazing, really.
Yeah.
It's been in ever since Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Yes.
And it's still going on. So.
And let's all be reminded, it was kind of, I guess, revitalized after a man in Miami had his face eaten off by another guy.
Okay, no.
Let's move on.
Okay.
So, now, the middle kind of turned people off from Nintendo's conference because they focused on, even though I feel like I went quickly through it, they focused on Wii Fit U, Just Dance 4, and then the Sing thing. But the thing that interested me about those games wasn't so much the games themselves, but the applications of the gamepad. Like the whole concept of Reggie, coming up with dance poses really fast to mess with the people who are playing. That's fun for a party game, in my opinion. Using the gamepad for lyrics for karaoke, some of the uses of that were quite cool. Now I want to see them do more with that for like adventure games and stuff. But for beginning of this, I don't mind giving some leeway for those kind of games and using the technology in a more safe environment than trying to go big for an adventure game that might fail.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I agree with you on that for sure.
Yeah.
We
and then, go ahead.
I was just going to say that we also learned that Reggie liked French food.
I like French food.
Reggie was awesome.
And his body
And
was
his
ready,
body's
too.
ready.
Yes.
Finally.
He did say it. He literally said it again.
Now, they mentioned 3DS games during the conference, but I'm going to save that till the end. But the last thing they ended on was Nintendo Land, and a lot of people hated on this, and I can understand why, but it looks like, from what I've heard from people who played it, it looks like a fun minigame collection. I hope it's actually a packaged game packaged with the Wii U as opposed to being a separate game, because I think that will strengthen it. And they spent too much time talking about it, and from what I've heard, they befuddled the explanation of the Luigi Mansion minigame and turned people off, but people who actually played it actually had fun with it.
Yeah.
But they just should have just shut up and just not try to over-explain it. And I'll agree, they really screwed up a little bit with the Nintendo Land presentation. But I still think overall Nintendo didn't have a bad conference. The main problem with them was they didn't show anything new or unexpected. Oh, I just glanced over New Super Mario Bros. Wii U.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't show anything all that unexpected. And I think that's why people had so much hype, and they played it safe, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but they didn't go to the potential that they had.
Well, really, they retitled New Super Mario Bros. Me, so that's not a new game necessarily.
The one thing I like about that, though, is the backgrounds are awesome, which is something that the New Super Mario Bros. Series needed. It looks so bland, and now they're actually kind of trying to be more creative with the environments.
Well, the high definition certainly helps with that, too.
Yeah.
Yay.
But I was kind of teed off initially with the Miiverse concept, because I know I'm not a long-time 3DS owner, and we have the Mii Plaza and interacting locally with the different Miis and catching them. We did that with PAX, I think.
Yeah, we did that a lot.
I didn't really enjoy the fact that they announced the Miiverse thing, but the way they're using it with Nintendo Land, actually, I'll get Nintendo Land on launch if they have it on launch, even if it's not packed in with the console. I would get it. That's something I'm really excited for. Like, you can play with other people. Is it an online game?
I don't know.
Because they said
in
the theme park, like the area outside of the attractions, you're going to see Miis from all kinds of different people around the world, is what they said. So
Yeah, it
could be an online thing.
It really reminded me a lot of the kind of how the Xbox Friends feature works on the 360, where you can always see what other players you have added to your thing, what they're playing, and you can get messages from them. It really reminded me of that, but to a much larger extent, and I think that's awesome. I think that's really cool. It reminds me of when I was a kid, just going into school every day, talking to people. Hey, how did you get any farther in this game? Or he's like, yeah, I unlocked this character, and just a lot of stuff like that. That's one of the things I really loved about gaming as a kid, because there were all these other people who I shared gaming experiences with, and I think that Miiverse is definitely a step kind of in that direction, and I think it looks incredible. I think
Is this the inception of the death of the friend code?
It
for the Wii?
Yeah, they confirmed no friend codes. There are no friend codes for the Wii.
All right.
I do want to say a few things about the Wii U. And I'm going to be kind of the naysayer here, the one that talks down about it a bit, because I was disappointed at what I saw, to be perfectly honest.
Okay.
But I think the Miiverse and the whole Nintendo Land, it was presented pretty poorly, like you said, but it looks like a really cool concept. I have three major questions about it. Number one, will it be used all the time, or is it going to be one of these things like when the system first comes out, everyone's going to be on it, and then no one's going to be on it? I don't know.
That's a good question.
Number two,
you can't really know until
these are kind of rhetorical questions. Number two is the online actually going to be good for the Nintendo system? Because if you're using this Nintendo Land and you can you stutter around, you take these, you lag everywhere, then what fun is that? That's no fun, right?
Yeah.
That would be pretty disappointing. And number 3 is if the Nintendo Land and Miiverse thing with the mini games, how they showed off the Luigi's Mansion stuff, if they're going to allow for user-created content. Because if they do allow for user-created content, I think that would be amazing.
You mean making the attractions, custom
right,
attractions?
making your own attractions, putting them on there for other people to play.
See, they did that with Brawl. They had the custom stages and everything.
Like exactly, something like Stage Builder for Brawl.
If they would not cancel custom, like they canceled the downloading of custom stages. If they don't cancel it, great. That'd be great.
So I think it has a ton of potential. Do I think it's going to do well? Personally, no. I hope it does. I hope it does well. But do I think it will? No.
You need to be optimistic, man.
I would love for it to. I really would.
The track record for like those kind of things with Nintendo, though, is admittedly not good.
Not good.
I don't know though. I'm happy with the Wii overall, and I don't think even if the Wii U doesn't go and become like extraordinary or anything, I still think I'm going to be happy with it. But we'll see what happens when it comes out.
Yep.
2 other things I want to mention quick before I move on to the 3DS. 2 games that I think would have really helped the conference overall if they had, because they mentioned it on their site and they didn't mention it during the conference. Game & Wario, which is pretty much a WarioWare game, but everyone loves Wario.
Mm-hmm.
So. And another one that I don't know why, I mean, I can agree with everyone on this. I don't know why they didn't show this off. Platinum Games, who made Bayonetta, and I believe they actually are formed of people from Clover Studios who made Okami.
Beautiful Joe 2.
Yeah.
Well.
They're making a game called Project P100, and it's a mass action game, kind of like Pikmin a little bit. But you could check it out on the Nintendo E3 site. But that game looks kind of cool, and there was no reason why they shouldn't have showed that off. They should have showed that off.
They could have done that instead of, like, you mentioned to me earlier that Retro Studios might have announced the game at the very end of the conference, but they kind of stalled. You said they kind of stalled for time.
There's a rumor. There's a rumor that they were originally planning, and this would make sense, that instead of having the Nintendo Land be so long, they were going to have an announcement of Retro's game, but Retro decided that they weren't ready, and they decided to hold off announcing it.
I know hindsight's 20/20, but like we could put the Project P100. Is that what it was called?
Yeah,
they could put that then.
That's what I said. They should have put those games, instead of just having them on the site, they should have showed them during the conference. They had enough time to do so.
Mm-hmm. They could just do a mass like trailer of the different little games, and then you already have the Nintendo Direct conference that was happening later and showed off there.
Other things that were showed, they showed Tekken 2 was also Tekken, and Mass Effect 3 is going to be for the Wii U too.
That was surprising. I didn't know about that.
That's a big announcement, not to be glossed over.
Don't forget, it's not just Tekken; it's Tekken Tag Tournament 2 with Mega Mushrooms.
Yes, I saw that. They showed the Mega Mushroom power-up. They sneaked it in.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to make a different ending for the Wii U version of Mass Effect 3.
I don't know what they're going to do. But
they could.
I don't know. I'm personally happy overall because, like I said, Pikmin 3 looks great. The Project P100 looks interesting. New Super Mario Bros. U I'll probably get. And Assassin's Creed 3, and actually, honestly, some of the Ubisoft games, I'm really Ubisoft. We'll get to that, but Ubisoft really is impressed me overall. Completely but 3DS, I know I'm kind of
wait. One more thing about the Wii U.
Okay, good.
I have to say something to you as well.
I do want. Yeah, all right. See, we're not ready to move on.
I'm sorry.
I just want to say one thing is a little disappointing that I'm reading Wii U games currently. The ones they showed off, they only run in 720p HD. Although it does support 1080p, but the ones that are being developed for it now only are in 720p. So, although, like we said, graphics aren't that big of a deal, and it still does look phenomenal in 720p. If the current consoles are running 1080p, I am a little disappointed the Wii U is not outputting 1080p right from the get-go.
And
I'm a little concerned that it's going to fall behind. I know there's still time, but I'm a little concerned it's just going to fall behind really quickly, technology.
And I'm not sure, though, if you're reading that right, because from what I remember, and I don't know, I don't honestly know, so I'm not claiming it, but I remember reading that the demos were in 720p, but not that the games themselves were being. So I don't know if
I don't know. Well, again, who knows? No one's really had their hand on it for that long, but I expect it to be full HD right out of the box. And hopefully it is. If it is, then I stand corrected, but... If not. And one thing I do want to give props to for the Wii U is they are incorporating a lot of like Amazon, Hulu, YouTube, and while they don't have as many stream clients as Microsoft or Sony, those are a lot of the major ones.
Yeah, Sony and Microsoft, take notes. When you mention social media, know that most people who have your consoles know what those things are. Mm-hmm. So Nintendo did a great job at just bam, 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 just hit what you need to talk about, and then that's it. You don't have to go into a 20-minute presentation on what Netflix is.
That's the one thing. I think Nintendo did a really good job of presenting, especially, I mean, Sony did a good job too, but Microsoft, really, they didn't present. They didn't present well. Nintendo, as much as you can fault them for not having the content, they did a good job of presenting quickly, I think, and doing it in an effective manner, personally. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, Sony's Wonder Book really brings it took. Even Nintendo Land wasn't that long. That was like Nintendo's conference actually went longer than it usually does. It usually only goes an hour. So they only went like an extra like 10, 15, 20 minutes on the thing. But like Wonder Book was like, like a whole year is what it felt like.
Yeah, it went on too long.
I'm just concerned the Wii is going to fall down technologically.
Yeah. I think PK wanted to talk about the Luigi's Mansion Dark Mode.
Oh, wait. But before that, I wanted to talk about my disappointment of Nintendo's conference. They should have shown a teaser of the next Smash Bros. Game. They should have.
Actually, I'm going to make a counter argument here, and it's actually one that most people have made. Sakurai just finished development for Kid Icarus not too long ago. That was for March, and pretty much as soon as that was released, they just started development on Smash Bros.
Yes,
so they haven't even done the research and stuff yet. They wouldn't have had anything really concrete to show. So I'm almost
a small trailer of a cutscene.
No. See, this is
what would be the point of that?
Yeah, what would be the point of it?
All it does is just say, "Oh, we're creating Smash Bros." Everyone on the planet knows that.
Yeah, they teased it last year, and plus, if you substantiate the rumor that Retro didn't show they were going to show a game at the end, they're working on making it a good game. So give Sakurai some time.
Hey, counter argument. I remember when they first showed Brawl. It was just a little cutscene and involved Meta Knight and Pit. It showed no gameplay whatsoever, yet people went wild.
But they haven't even got through that. They haven't even got through the research and development part of it yet. They haven't even got all the ideas down. So they haven't maybe even decided all the characters and stuff like that. So they don't, with that, they had a whole year beforehand because they mentioned something in 2005. They had a whole year beforehand to prepare that cutscene.
Right.
They haven't even had that time for this. Yeah. So
I think it's just rabid Sprawl fans just want to see a game and they need to be patient.
If they don't show a cutscene or something next year, then I can fully agree with you for not showing some kind of teaser trailer. But for this year, for Smash Bros, I can totally say I think that makes sense.
And you know what I want to say? I can say you can still be patient. I, as a Pikmin fan, waited about 6 or 7 years
Pikmin
for anything. So you can just sit down and wait.
Hey. Counter argument.
Counters.
Yo.
Epic Marth fan?
I was a Melee fan. That game came out in 2001. You know how long we had to wait for Brawl? 7 fucking years.
Ooh! You know how long I had to wait for Duke Nukem Forever? I mean, man.
I'm a Duke Nukem fan. I had Duke 3D for the PC.
You know how long, as a Star Fox fan, I'm waiting for a true sequel to Assault? 7 years.
We're all waiting for a Star Fox sequel.
That's another thing I'm sick of, and I guess this will lead into 3DS, because 3DS has all Mario games, apparently, coming out. And I'm really kind of getting sick of Nintendo piggybacking a lot off of Mario, which it's cash cow. But, I mean, you got to give some love to the other franchises. Like, it's just like, this
like
Mario
Animal
game.
Crossing?
Yes, Animal
Crossing. Another
Crossing.
Mario game, and another Mario game. And it's just like, okay, I mean, Mario games are fantastic, but, like, what about Star Fox? What about F-Zero? What about all these other things that are just being ignored?
That's the one thing I can agree with you on. As much as I don't mind the fact that Mario is coming out,
yeah, I don't
say,
mind it,
if you compare it to previous generations, it seems like there's been a lot of Mario, and I will admit, it's starting to get to the point where it's like, okay, maybe you should like look yourself in the mirror and take a step back and focus on some other franchises or new franchises. And they have a lot of that's being kept on a wrap. So I'm willing to not judge their direction until next year. But I will say after this parade of Mario, they should probably let him have a break.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think every single console developing conference this year definitely demonstrated they don't know what new IP is. They don't know what that means. Microsoft doesn't. Sony doesn't. And Nintendo, I was shocked. there weren't very many new franchises that they announced. They just wow.
Well, true, but on the other hand, though, as much as I don't know, I was really happy with the 3DS lineup personally. First off, we didn't get any really new announcements. That's the one thing that could be disappointing because everything that was shown. But I liked what I saw. I liked, and I liked the in-depth. Specifically, Paper Mario Sticker Star would definitely be the game out of all of the E3 I'm the most excited for. Specifically, some of the mentions of like changes to the gameplay franchise, the focus on the stickers and kind of how immersive that is. Getting rid of the experience points during battle, I think, is a controversial decision that I think will actually help the franchise. Sticker Star just looks amazing, and I'm really happy it's coming out this holiday. And it's and also it's also a digital download. You can also not purchase it physically. You can just buy it.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So it's the equivalent of Steam almost.
Are we done with talking about the Wii U part? Because I kind of have one last thing to say.
Okay.
All right, so the one thing I want to say about the Wii U part, which was mostly the Nintendo Direct as well as the big part of E3, I want to say that I wasn't extremely impressed, but at the same time, what I was happy about was the fact that I feel like this year, unlike when the Wii launched, I don't think we're going to have the third-party failure that I think the Wii kind of had when it had its launch. I think that the Wii U will have quite a good third-party support. Maybe not as much first-party as everyone was hoping to see in all these big-name games, but I think we're also happy to see that the third-party isn't just like trailing behind going, oh, what can we do with all these gimmicks? Sure, there was like there's Just Dance 4, and sure there's like Wii Fit, and whatever that third game was.
I disagree with Wii Fit being gimmicky, but okay.
Well, like that casual sort of, not really hardcore. But anyway, Nintendo they didn't spend much time on that, if at all. I think it was clear that Nintendo said, hey, we're not going to spend a year just focusing on these gimmicks. We're going to sit down and we're going to make games that use this technology, but game first, gimmicks later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of Reggie's quotes really puts it in perspective. I think he said one year, Nintendo's all about kicking ass and making games.
So we're going to take you names.
But that's not what he said. He said making games, so that's what he said.
I think he takes names, too.
Probably.
He took my name.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I agree with K-Man there. I do think I can understand people's nervousness that the third-party games are games that are already out, but I think that the fact that we're getting big-name franchises that like Arkham City and also Mass Effect 3 shows that eventually it'll start picking up steam. And I know Nintendo is in a kind of a hard place because they need to get third-party support, so they don't want to shove too much first-party. But then with the 3DS, when they try to do third-party, no one really picked up on them right away. So then they also need to have first-party stuff, and Mario is the easy thing to start selling systems.
Yeah.
So I can't really blame them for their strategy. They're kind of in a they're really in a difficult position, and as much as people want them to show off third-party or tons of first-party games, I almost think that would have been worse because then they wouldn't have any third-party games, and they would be the same problem with the Wii again.
You think they maybe split their attention way too thin with the third parties to pay too much attention to the first party?
I wouldn't say that.
I honestly think the point of this E3 for them was to say, hey, we have the third-party support this time. It will not be like the Wii launch, and it won't be like the 3DS launch. This launch is going to work.
That's fair. That's a fair thing to say.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I just think while the Wii U might dominate and the 3DS might dominate for a year and a half, it's just might fall behind when Microsoft and Sony come out with their new things.
Yeah, we could say that because the Wii ended up that way, but
the 3DS will probably be the
but I think we should focus on the conference and less on the future.
Yeah. Right. All right. So what else came out of the 3DS?
So 3DS. So wait, no one else is excited about Paper Mario? I mean, man, I love it.
I'm excited for it too.
Mario? Are you kidding me?
Not much to say.
Universal excitement for Paper Mario.
Yeah.
I want some woos.
Woo!
There.
Woohoo! Let's
Things
go.
that get talked about the least are actually the most exciting.
Yeah, I think there's not much to be said about Paper Mario, but I was frustrated that they didn't really. They showed images last year. They didn't really show much.
Oh,
of
they
anything.
showed
They showed one thing, but
No, this year they showed love for Paper Mario.
They showed.
Oh, I'm talking about last year. Last year they showed maybe one video of Paper Mario, and that's it.
I'm excited.
Now,
Mario.
okay, SM, Castlevania.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Castlevania. I love Castlevania. So I'm really excited to see another Castlevania game that's going, with the action style that Castlevania is known for. I'm very excited. What can I say? I'm excited.
Did it look good for you then?
It looked good for me. I think a lot of the portable Castlevania games have been questionably good. I mean, they're all solid titles, but none of Super Castlevania 4 and the original Castlevanias were breakthrough games, and they were really good. And the portable ones were just good, but this is looking like it's going back to being really good. So that's it.
And another game that I'm really excited for is that's not first party is Disney's Epic Mickey Power of Illusions. Epic Mickey 2 looks good for the Wii and for the other systems, but for the 3DS, the Power of Illusions is being made by Dreamriff, the creators of Monster Tale and Henry Hatsworth. Well, they're not the creators of Henry Hatsworth, but the people who worked on it also worked on Henry Hatsworth. But it looks like a really good game. I love the sprite-based nature of it, and I'll definitely be getting that game for the 3DS. Power of Illusions. And then New Super Mario Bros. 2, which looks... I don't like the... unlike New Super Mario Bros. U, which had interesting backdrops, New Super Mario Bros. 2 doesn't, but I do find the coin aspect interesting.
Gold Mario.
Yeah, they're focusing a lot on coins and stuff.
I think didn't you say it reminded you a lot of Wario Land? Those kind of games where Wario's always collecting coins and everything.
I don't think I said anything like that, did I?
I think that was me or Pond or something.
It might have been Pond. Yeah, it was Pond. Yeah, it was Pond. Sorry.
Yeah,
I don't.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Coins, gold. That's bad.
Coins, gold. More Mario. Needs to be less Mario.
Yeah.
Okay, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon.
Let's focus on Luigi.
Yes.
Luigi gets the
Luigi.
It's basically a Mario game, though.
It's not, though, because,
Luigi's Mansion.
let's look at Luigi's games that he's got. Mario is missing, and Luigi's Mansion. So he's really only a 1 for 2 right now, and he needs a third game, and he's finally getting it. So Here we go. Luigi's Mansion, Dark Side of the Moon, or is that
it's being developed by Next Level Games, actually.
Oh my God, no!
Same developers of
Strikers. No, see, now I hope they redeem themselves because I was honestly depressed with how Strikers charged turned out. It's a different. I know it's a different kind of game. I know it's sports, soccer, and this is Luigi's Mansion. I don't know.
Well, the one thing with Luigi's Mansion 2 is I don't know. It looks more expansive than the original, and I really like the style to it, and a lot of it looks like it has in-depth gameplay overall with more in exploring the mansions and less than just with Luigi's Mansion it was go get a ghost, you got that ghost, now go to the next one. It looks like there's more to it in this game.
Right. Less linearity's the key for a lot of the newer games now. I almost make the parallel to I'm obviously playing Final Fantasy 13 too right now. That takes away the linearity of 13. In the same way, Dark Moon is probably going to do the same exact thing, and I think that's probably what's going to win over a lot of people.
And all of those games, I don't know about Castlevania if that is, but Epic Mickey, New Super Mario Bros. 2, Paper Mario, and Dark Moon are all coming out by the end of Christmas. So for me, I'm going to have no wallet left.
Yes.
Wait, you're going to sell your wallet?
No, but I would want.
No, he will have to sell his wallet in order to buy the games.
Wait a moment, PTM. Are you saying that Luigi is Sarah and Mario is Lightning?
That's not even a thing.
Yeah, but you made the comparison.
That's not even.
Mega, can I buy your wallet?
But see, that doesn't work because those are two different protagonists for a continuation of the same game. This is the continuation of the same game. It's the same main character. So that analogy just got thrown out the window. So.
Yeah, but I had to make it go. I had to.
And
just saying, one more piece of 3DS news, whether by accident or intentionally.
Wait. I want to say it, but Kingdom Hearts was also shown.
I want to say it.
I'm going to say it because I'm Mega.
I knew that, though. I researched it.
Dream Drop Distance looks so much fun.
Okay, assuming it's the same one, we'll say it at the same time. Fair enough?
That's not gonna work. But all right.
1, 2, 3, go.
Kingdom
So-
Hearts.
1, 2, 3. Fire Emblem
Fire Emblem Awakening.
Yes.
Please.
will be coming
Fire Emblem.
I feel kind of left out because you're talking about games. You're gushing over games that I don't have much experience in.
You need to play more Fire
You need to
Emblem.
play Fire Emblem, man.
And Pikmin.
Well, you should just
Yeah.
watch our Let's Play of Sacred Stones.
Yeah.
Dead.
Speaking of which,
LLP plugs.
The second best Let's Play on CrystalStarStudio's.
no, actually, it's more like the best.
Waker.
The best.
Second
to
to the
Maker. Wind
No.
Waker.
Oh.
No,
Ratchet.
no.
But is it ironic that the top two projects have me in them? I think that's
Yeah.
not a mistake.
Wait, actually, Ratchet might be the best. No,
Okay, wait. I think we're losing focus.
Yeah.
So, anything else to say about Nintendo overall? Because personally, I am happy with it, but I can understand why people were disappointed. There wasn't really any new hard-hitting announcements, but what was shown, I was happy with.
The only thing that I got butthurt about in the entire E3 was just like the complete snub of Animal Crossing. Like
Yeah.
Animal Crossing is
Japan is getting it in the fall, so I mean, like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know why Animal Crossing gets totally ignored, but
That's
I'm
true.
excited. I was pleased, but again, not sure what the
You
future
said you were
holds.
disappointed, though, didn't you?
I was pleased with 3DS
Disappointed.
stuff. I was disappointed with Wii U stuff. But again, like I said, not sure what the future holds for the Wii U.
Yeah, gotta-
I hope it lasts long, but I have this strange, terrible feeling that it's going to get totally replaced when the other two consoles come out.
How many of us are getting it at launch?
I will.
It depends on my money.
Probably not me. I think the price
Yeah,
point,
and it doesn't end
the
up
price
like
point
the Wii U,
tentatively
where
is
every single place is sold out.
is 400, but I don't know how much truth there is.
I don't think.
I
I,
think
don't
I might-
it's going to be 400. In all honesty,
I don't think it'll be that
It's
much.
at most 300. I think 300 is the standard for new console.
699.
Oh yes, let's ask
Son-
Sony. Sony, what was your PS3 at launch?
Oh god.
Yeah.
I never buy consoles at launch anymore, so I'm cool with that.
I think I'm going to reserve it. I think I'm going to get it at launch.
I'm
I'm excited. I think my first game I'm going to get is Assassin's Creed 3. They really.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
I'm actually really looking forward to that, and I'm usually not even into that franchise. Which, speaking of which, well, actually, no, we're jumping the gun a bit. EA.
Well, yeah. Well, wait. I have.
Well,
Yeah,
something else.
let's close out on Nintendo first with everybody.
Oh, sorry.
PK was
Or-
met. Bah, go K
Or
man.
should we just end out on the big three in general and what people have to say?
Oh, who won? Who do you think won?
Or, well, like, just closing thoughts on all of them in general. And
Well-
sure, if you want to say who won in your mind.
Okay, I have something to say about all three of them. They are who we thought they were.
Let's save that for the very end because, like, with EA and Ubisoft, I mean, they will be developing games for those systems. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, like, let's kind of close out on Nintendo first. I guess is.
Yeah, we
I
mentioned.
have something I want to say, but I'll let other people go first if they.
Gaia mentioned disappointment at Animal Crossing not getting a plug during the conference. There was another game that I wanted to mention when we were talking about Sony that a lot of people are going to be really pissed off about that there was no light shed on was Final Fantasy 15 or Versus 13 as
No,
it's
man,
officially
Slide
called.
4. Slide 4 was
Slide
the game.
4.
Where
but-
the hell is it?
Yeah, Versus 13/15, whatever it's going to be called in the end, didn't get any sort of news or any sort of revelation at all, and I think Final Fantasy might be in trouble.
I think they were in trouble after Final Fantasy 9, but that's just me.
Okay, to close off Nintendo, Nintendo was one of those conferences where I have to say I'm not extremely excited now, like, OMG, I'm going to get all the Nintendo games. But at the same time, it's not like I am disappointed in you, Nintendo. It was more like, good job, Nintendo, keep doing what you're doing. And also, just a side note, as a Pikmin enthusiast, I was happy that that was the first thing shown before showing all the Wii U stuff. Just so it goes to show that they wanted people to focus on the game and not how the Wii U was helping the game.
Yes.
So it's nice to know that they're focusing on the game and not gimmicky. So really happy with that. And all in all, good job, Nintendo. Good pat on the back.
I'm kind of the same with K-Man, though I'm a little bit more excited just because I can be. But, yeah, I pretty much, they weren't anything extraordinary. It wasn't anything disappointing. It was pretty much like, good job, I'm happy. It's like if you ate a sandwich. It's not like the best sandwich ever. It's just good sandwich. You're filled. You're fine.
Yeah.
What a very, very great analogy.
I'm obviously biased because I'm a Nintendo fan usually first, but I I can weigh Nintendo a little more heavily in favor of them than the other two big conferences, just because they had more games to show. But aside from that, I was not won over by any of the three at all.
As for me, I think Nintendo and Sony are kind of neck and neck in my book, and Microsoft just kind of in last, because I've never been a Microsoft guy. I'll admit I'm biased towards Sony and Nintendo. But the real thing I want to say is, I know Eric mentioned F-Zero earlier. The last North American F-Zero game was in 2003. I like F-Zero. I like the series. Where is our new game?
Whoa, they're going to have something.
Okay, there's good news. There's a new F-Zero coming out for Nintendo Land.
Yep. There's actually going to be a racing game. No, it's PK. It's fun.
You take Captain Falcon and you go bounty hunting.
That actually is good news, because that could mean there might be an F-Zero in the future if they're including it in Nintendo Land.
They also have a Star Fox thing for attraction for Nintendo Land too. But hey, wait a minute! It's like Masterpieces, only Nintendo Land.
No! And you're coming to Nintendo Land, Ice Climbers.
Yes.
Damn you!
Okay.
Yeah, I do have to say this. I want to throw this out real quick. Am I the only one that has all three of the major consoles?
No.
I have all three.
I technically have a PS2. So.
I have PS2 too.
Like, I mean the modern consoles. BTM.
It is modern. It's like...
Shut up. You're out of your element.
Okay, so it's just...
Yeah, well, honestly, just in my opinion, Xbox is definitely the last place, because, like, as they, like I said in the prediction, they really had an opportunity to expand into it, and they just went George W. Bush. They stayed the course. And honestly, again, I haven't seen all of Nintendo, but, like, in fairness, this is kind of biased, I guess, towards Sony, but I would put Sony just slightly ahead. I mean, the Wonder Book, if that hadn't happened, then Sony, I wouldn't feel guilty about putting in first place.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The Wonder Book thing, man.
I mean,
Yeah.
every single conference had that something that was kind of like, okay.
Yeah. That is kind of
For
charming.
Microsoft.
I mean,
Why?
that's almost like required, though.
Yeah. Okay, so we're kind of going off topic because we keep talking about all three of them, and I just wanted final thoughts for Nintendo, but whatever.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's not a problem. But anyway, one thing I really liked about how Nintendo handled things this year is that, in a way, they kind of had three separate conferences, and I feel like that was good because they could center different things to each conferences. First, they had the Nintendo Direct thing, which focused just on Wii U specs. And the reason they did that is they wanted the actual conference to be all about games, and that's exactly what it was. I mean, there were a few, mention of features here and there, but like Mega explained earlier, they just, talked about them and then moved on. That's the way it should have been, and I feel like none of the other conferences did that. They just got hung up on the most ridiculous things when they didn't need to. And the final conference was obviously the 3DS conference, and I think I was kind of harsh about the 3DS conference at first, because if you guys were reading my Facebook, I even said that my grade of the Nintendo conference actually went down because of that. But in retrospect, I don't know. I think I was a little bit too harsh on that, because what they did show was they showed a lot of the gameplay for the games, and that's essentially what they were trying to avoid for the main conference. They wanted to show the gameplay later, and I think that all of the systems should probably take that same approach, I think. Take one conference to, show, just brief little snippets of all the games, and then focus on the gameplay later when they can actually do, demos that won't, concern themselves with time crunch or anything like that. And I really liked how Nintendo handled that. The only thing I was really mad about the 3DS one is that I feel like they left out stuff, but, I mean, we should probably focus on what they actually have, not so much what they left out, because we don't know what's really going behind in closed doors. So,
yeah, I was paying.
Oh, go ahead.
I was paying attention to the stream on Sunday when the Nintendo Direct pre E3 stream. Mm-hmm. They had tens of thousands of people watching that stream, so they hit a pretty big group of people.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's the thing. I think personally, I will definitely stick with. I think of all the big three, Nintendo had the best conference in terms of having it set up right and having the right presentation to it all. The fault that Nintendo had is they didn't have the content people wanted and the content that they might have helped them go forward. But in terms of the actual structure of the conference, I think they nailed it. In terms of some of the stuff that they showed, they didn't have any. There wasn't any hard-hitting big announcements. It was pretty much stuff we already knew, and that's kind of happened to everyone.
Yeah.
And that's why I said Nintendo was the best, simply because they had really good structure.
Okay, well, I think that probably does it for Nintendo.
Yeah, I think we should move on to the other two developers.
Yeah.
We can start with EA, I think.
Yeah.
Is there really anything to say about EA?
Yes, I'm going to say something about EA.
Okay.
Because you guys are having trouble thinking of something because you don't watch sports. And
well, I was watching that too. Hey.
You didn't know the difference between the American League and the National League in baseball, so you're irrelevant.
Okay. They didn't really talk about MLB, okay?
I'm just saying. One thing I do like about EA Sports and what they're doing is how they're integrating tablets with, or even the Wii U tablet or the Smart Glass tablet or whatever, with their sports games. Because one thing they did show off in, I believe it was in the Microsoft conference, was how they could use the tablet to call out audibles. Yes. Or use the Kinect to call out audibles, or use the tablet to change positions on the fly, which is such a pain to do in sports games because you have to pause the game and then scroll through this massive menu of all these lineups and shifts and formations and things. So if they can really get that down on the tablets, I think that would be really, really cool and a really good addition for EA. So I think that would put them well above a lot of other sports developers if they can do it successfully. That's the key, successfully.
I was actually... Go ahead, Megan.
Okay, well, the one thing I found interesting personally, even though I have absolutely no interest in Madden or any of their football games, but the whole, I didn't really know exactly the thing they were talking about, but the fact they mentioned that they had a new engine or something that allowed them to do slight, like the plays would be different and that the animation would be slightly different. There'd be more like if you get tackled from the side, that character might move differently than if you tackled him from a different angle.
Oh, it's the Infinity Collision engine, I think.
A new engine.
That to me actually was interesting. Again, I'm trying to go into animation, not 3D, but to me that was actually something interesting I thought was cool.
Because I have NCAA Football 2012. The one thing that really frustrates me about EA's working on that game, they don't put any effort into the tackling or the gameplay at all. They want to change all the different like dynasty mode and going from high school to college. They want to change all the different little outside features, but never work on the gameplay. They talked about in the Infinity engine, there's like predetermined outcomes for tackles, and you can see it too. Like it's almost like a random number generator. You see the player who goes to try to strip the ball out of the runner's hands. You either will or you won't, and it's based on the skill level of the player. But the animation always looks the same. You can tell when someone's trying to strip the ball. It's not going to be the case with this Madden game. It looks like.
I give EA a lot of credit because. One point that's I think important to make is if you go from say Madden 2010 to Madden 2011 to Madden 2012, how many new features can you add to a football game? Like it's football. No. We have all the rules. We have all the players. Like you can
know
update
your rules.
stats.
You know your lifelines.
But what can you add? And I think we're really seeing the next step of what you can add. And I give EA a lot of credit for that.
It's a different thing with Madden than it is with NCAA football. Madden, there's not a lot of changing with like divisions and all that. We rarely see.
Well, yeah, NCAA changes.
NCAA right now, conference realignment is a huge thing, but that's something completely separate. So there's different things you can do with both.
So they're doing it not only with Madden, also with FIFA too.
Yeah, FIFA. Oh my goodness! I don't really care much for the smartphone and like the smart glass technology that they're integrating all the different devices. I don't care much for that, but they have PC games for manager modes for soccer leagues and everything. I love what they're doing with FIFA. Like I had a friend last year who had FIFA 12. I love the gameplay on FIFA, but the way they're just improving everything is awesome.
I agree. I don't know how much you guys can weigh in on sports games, but.
Well, they had
EA is pretty dominant right now.
Some of the other things EA had, from what I remember, is Crysis 3, Dead Space 3, Medal of Honor. I think that was SimCity they focused on for a little bit too.
Oh yeah, they focused a lot on SimCity.
That's right.
SimCity Social.
Crysis 3 is big. Crysis 1 and 2 were both really good. So
they drug out the problem with EA. They drug out a lot of the
They
games
drug
they show.
they drugged them.
Yeah, drug them
And
out.
focus on celebrities and stuff like that.
Yeah, I didn't get that. They showed Joe Montana and the Microsoft, and then they showed Michael Irvin. And Michael Irvin, he says "baby" like every 5 seconds.
Baby.
Come on.
Oh, baby.
But to be fair, I actually like that guy. He seemed very personable.
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 He's
yes.
He's an unreasonable commentator, but he's funny to listen to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what?
But-
Screw sports games.
Yeah, for the most part, EA was just kind of like... I was a refreshment after Microsoft because they focus on games, but for me, it was just kind of like, yeah, they were just, yeah. They weren't bad, they weren't
Well,
good. They were...
I mean, the game. That's the EA. Well, the EA Sports, like EA Sports. Then there's EA.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's kind of like two different. It's like with Nintendo, they kind of had two different conferences almost in the same thing.
Although EA basically just straight up copied Microsoft with the Elite Pro. Oh, sorry, it's Premium.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I hate that. I've been
I mean,
playing
goddamn.
Battlefield.
I mean, EA has a bad enough rep anyways with customer service. I mean, this is just throwing more gasoline on the fire.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing Battlefield 3 yesterday, and I got apparently killed by a premium member, and they had to have that premium member tag on it. And I was like, oh well, I should just give up.
I should just toss my PlayStation out the window.
I should just not even play anymore.
Well, my life will be forever incomplete.
Just no more video games for me. I'm just gonna be outclassed.
I think that was a good mention of EA's
Yeah.
conference. I don't know if anyone has anything else to add, but
Not really.
overall, I think they did a great job for especially the sports aspect of it.
Anyone else got?
EA, because fuck you, that's why.
What the hell?
Although EA Sports Fest game is still MVP Baseball 2005.
Yeah, whatever.
BTM, do you like FIFA?
FIFA and NCAA football are the only EA games I would ever care about, and I don't have FIFA at all, but I play it a lot. So
With friends.
with friends, it's a fun friend game.
Friends.
Now, on the other spectrum of, EA played it safe, we have Ubisoft.
Ubisoft, that's my pick for the best conference at E3.
I might have to agree with you on that. Let's
World
start off
world
with
is
Ubisoft.
ending, third party won. Ah!
Yeah, that's surprising. Like, a few of us think that the third-party game developer beat out the conferences. It's not okay. The way we described it earlier with the first-party conferences, just playing it safe. It's not surprising that Ubisoft would have kind of a better showing of games.
And they didn't even play they weren't even that unsafe. It's just they had more new stuff, more announcements that we didn't know about before.
Right.
Now, does someone want to start off with Ubisoft?
Yeah, they had Rayman Legends. I think they.
Well, no, but I mean start at the beginning.
Oh, the beginning. I don't remember the beginning.
What was the first game they showed? I can't.
I'm pretty sure it was Rayman Legends.
No, it wasn't. That was near the middle.
Oh,
Was it Assassin's Creed?
Was
Might have
it?
been no, I know they had Far Cry 3, but that wasn't the first one. It
Oh,
was
no.
near the beginning though, because Far Cry 3 had boobs. But
Would it be Zombie U?
no, that was near the middle too.
They had a trailer for Zombie, but
Well, regardless, let's just go over the games anyway.
Assassin's Creed 3.
Yeah.
Looks amazing.
Yes. I
Yeah,
don't
but
think
we've
I don't
been
know.
over this.
Yeah, I don't remember if they showed Wii U gameplay at the Ubisoft conference, but they mentioned they were really pushing oh, we're partnering with the Wii U and we're going to come out with this game.
Yeah,
there.
Ubisoft seems to be the flagship of the third-party developers when it comes to the Wii U.
Yep.
And Rayman Legends, obviously, I've held off, but Rayman Legends is. I loved Origins. It looks amazing. When they had that one scene in the with the rocking grannies and
Yeah.
jumping back into the thing, but having kind of almost this really 3D kind of perspective thing. Rayman Legends just looks awesome, and I will definitely be getting it. And it was one of the highlights of the games for the conference for me, for all of them.
Was it Far Cry 3?
Far Cry 3.
Yeah, so they start off the trailer for Far Cry 3 with yeah.
Boobs.
Yeah.
Boobs.
That thing.
Boobs.
Those things that women have.
Babies!
Yeah, I love how we're all saying boobies in front of the only girl in our group. And she's laughing at it.
So that's the
Well,
selling,
I have a good sense of
Oh,
humor.
okay, good.
that's the selling
Oh, I
point
thought
for
you
Far
guys said
Cry
something
3 though.
But no, Far Cry 3 actually didn't look bad. It doesn't really interest me, but it actually didn't look bad. I know we kind of... the one thing with Ubisoft is Ubisoft was everywhere. They showed stuff at Sony too, and they showed stuff at Nintendo. But the thing that was odd about Ubisoft is, even though we'd already seen their conference, anything they showed at another conference was still felt good.
It felt new too.
Yeah, and I don't know how to explain it, but everything they showed was really cool.
They showed gameplay for Assassin's Creed at their conference, and they showed something completely different, like this gameplay at the other conferences.
Yeah.
So.
But obviously the biggest thing that Ubisoft featured was its finale with Watch Dogs.
Oh, Watch Dogs. That was cool.
I think everyone keeps gushing over this game, and honestly, it was probably game of the entire E3.
Mm.
Like, it's
Twitter lit up. Like I was watching. They had the hashtag CTOS. They thought the game was called like CTOS.
Yeah, that's what they made it seem like at first.
The thing that's interesting about Watch Dogs is as they were watching it, everyone was kind of confused and like, what is this? What is this? And then they started getting more into it, and everyone just started getting more excited. And that's what I think this E3 lacked, and why Ubisoft, I think, was one of the best.
Yeah.
That was a general surprise. It felt like its own series, and it had a concept, being able to hack everything, that was kind of felt new and fresh. Yeah. And that's the one thing that we didn't get from other conferences, is this experience of something new.
Yeah, they went into history. They went to history of I don't remember what year was it, 2004, 2006, when they had the whole Northeast seaboard power went out.
Chicago, Illinois during 2010.
Oh, was it Chicago? I thought it was in the Northeast.
I don't know. The games take place in Chicago.
Oh, the game takes place. Yeah, well, they went through a history of like this power outage that happened in New England a long time ago, a little while ago, and I was so confused. I was wondering what is this video have to do with a game? And then they show off the game, and it gradually builds up to this. Yeah. It was so cool.
All I know is I'm probably going to get it immediately.
Yeah, me too, honestly.
I will attempt to get it if it's not for the Wii U, which at the moment it's not announced for. But if it's not, I might borrow my brother's 360 because it looks. I'm generally interested in this game.
It's a PC game, isn't it? Too.
If it is, I need to get a better PC.
Here's what I think thought about Watch Dogs. When I watched that trailer, I was like, "What the hell is this?" It's like a mix of Metal Gear and Inception. It's like, what the hell? It's like one of the most original premises I've seen in a long time. Maybe it's not the most original in that. Okay, we've heard, oh yeah, the government or companies are trying to control us, but it does it in such a slick, professional way that it holds your interest.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
See, now I saw shades of Red Steel in the game too, where you kind of, I don't know, they had something in Red Steel, a trailer for Wii a long time ago, where you like slow down, you would pick your targets, and then you would start firing your gun, you would stop time and do this crazy stuff.
Yeah, it is pretty cool how they're, just a severe amount of technological, like, shenanigans that you can do. I guess it's the best way to say it.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about Ubisoft's conference is, like, they had missteps. Like, okay, Shoot Mania, when they were showing that whole section was just kind of painful to watch. And the host was awkwardly trying to, not as bad as Mr. Caffeine, but was just awkwardly trying to make jokes like Lady would, and she wasn't that funny. And then they had Tobuscus, who I like some of his videos, but he wasn't working well.
I think they put him on because he makes these like these lyric videos, and he
does other videos too,
like trailers almost, the trailer thing where he sings to the trailer.
But just overall, even with those missteps, they still had more I guess that's the one thing. Like Nintendo, I feel had the best presentable conference compared to Ubisoft, but Ubisoft had the content.
Yeah.
Who is this presenter you're talking about?
The hostess, and then Tobuscus was on there too.
Who's Tobuscus?
He's a YouTube guy.
Yeah, like just he sings, makes lyrics and sings to like trailer stuff.
That's not his only stuff, but
I know that's the only thing I saw.
But hey, guys, we're all a little bit gay.
What?
What does that have to do with anything?
That was a quote in there, wasn't it?
I will say.
Oh, I think she did say that.
Yeah, she did. It was like people kept pointing out, like that was the key, like that was like the word that summed up Ubisoft.
I think the thing which is why Ubisoft kind of came off as number one compared to everyone else, everyone else was completely like refined, and they held back this year. Nintendo had everything about Wii U, which everyone knew about, and these were just kind of giving the details to something that we were already kind of knew about from last year, and we kind of already expected. Microsoft was Microsoft, and they spent almost like 15 hours on Smart Glass. And Sony didn't really come with they weren't groundbreaking. They were pretty good, but they weren't groundbreaking. And Ubisoft, I don't know if they even had they appeared to have a lot of content with them, but just the way that they presented it, all of Far Cry 3 was just a big WTF moment. And I think that just threw everyone off.
That
to the
whole
point where,
game is a WTF moment, honestly.
Yeah.
it just threw off everyone to the point where everyone just liked them for E3 because it wasn't just a boring old nothing being shown conference. They went out of their way to make their conference so unique. I don't think they even cared whether it was a bad or a good conference, but just because it was so it was just kind of way out there that it just ended up working out for them because no one else had really come up to the plate.
That really sucks, though, when, I'm glad that Ubisoft's conference turned out well, and it does kind of seem like, based on the presenters, the speakers actually speaking at that conference, I don't think they really expected it to be the best. But now I'm confused because they're coming out with games for the Wii U, they're coming out with games for the 360, the PlayStation 3, they're coming out with games for the PC, so I don't know.
One thing I can always say about Ubisoft, Ubisoft. Okay. One thing I can always say about them is that they put love and care to their games. They treat their games like fresh bread. Leave it in the oven just until it's brown. Just until it's golden brown, not black, not undercooked, but golden brown.
So like
This brought to you
children.
by the Bacon King.
And that was weird and overdrawn analogies with PK. Next up.
I think the bottom. Next up, me.
It's a
I think
perfect
the bottom.
analogy.
The bottom line is just they had the content, and that's all that matters at E3. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you can present it terribly, as some of them did, but they had the content, and that's what people wanted.
No,
and that's
Eric,
what I wanted. I
Eric,
want
you can
new
say what
stuff.
you were thinking. The bottom was pretty good, right? Being on,
So-
I didn't want to
so
talk
what do you-
about moves.
So what are you excited for Ubisoft, SM? Because you've been kind of quiet.
What am I excited about for Ubisoft? Pretty much everything. Pretty
Join
much.
the club.
I mean, what more can I say? You guys said it all. Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed. I mean, you can just go on and on and on.
Rayman.
Far Cry 3 looks interesting. So,
Rayman.
Rayman.
So, this podcast, I think, has been going on for 2 hours.
It's about
so-
to hit the score mark.
That's not unexpected. I mean,
I know. It's 7
E3
people
predictions
saying
shouldn't take that long anyway. So.
Yeah.
points, so we should probably start to wrap it up. But
Yeah.
Okay.
Shall we just wrap it up, kind of with everyone giving their final thoughts about everything?
I do have a plan for that, but very quickly, just a quick discussion. Obviously we've been talking about this year, and a few times we kind of mentioned what should happen next year. So does anyone just have any very quick things that they'll see from next year, or things that they should do? I don't know.
May I start?
Sure.
Yes,
Sure.
okay.
The one thing I think is this, obviously for most of the conferences, was very safely played. There wasn't any big announcements. Therefore, I think it sets up and that they should take advantage of this for next year, and we should be seeing tons of new announcements. And if we don't, then I'm going to shake my head and be like, okay, I understand they do give announcements throughout the year, but E3 is like Christmas. It would be nice to have some surprises, and that's why people loved Ubisoft, because they had some surprises. You can go through the long and short of other technologies and showing more stuff with games we already know about, because we like that too, but we do need to have some surprises, and I understand the development and the fact that new systems are coming out probably hinder that for this year, so I'm kind of looking forward to next year and seeing what they might have, but basically you need surprises. Unfortunately, or fortunately, or just you need it.
Okay, here's my long analysis of what the future is going to look like. Next year is going to be Nintendo's year. I think Nintendo's going to have the best conference by far next year. The reason being is that I think Sony and Microsoft are both going to focus on what's next after the 360 and after the PS3, which respectfully is going to be PS4 and whatever Xbox can just scrounge up. And meanwhile, Nintendo's already going to have their system out, and they're going to hit the ground running with games. I think next year is going to be a lot of first-party support and a lot of third-party support, hopefully. And I think Nintendo, when it comes to the games department, they'll win next year. Unfortunately, the years after that, I think it will be a struggle for Nintendo to keep the third parties because Xbox and Sony will learn from Nintendo's mistakes with the Wii U, and their systems, I think, will be superior to the Wii U once they come out because they'll have that background knowledge and they'll have the advantage of coming out later, while Nintendo's advantage of coming out earlier aids them for 1 or 2 years, but then they'll fall behind. And so I think Nintendo will be coming out with some great games. I think for these next few years, Nintendo will be in a great spot. But for years after that, I think we're kind of see a repeat of the Wii in which they're going to start losing the third parties back to Xbox or to Microsoft and to Sony because they have the newer systems that have learned from Nintendo, and I think that will attract the third parties more than the Wii U will.
Yeah. I'm going to play Mr. Consultant here with the big three here. Microsoft lost its chance this year to really impress people with games. I look at their library, and they have the few gems, their first-person shooter gems, like Call of Duty, whatever. Microsoft, you lost your chance. Like K-Man said, the Wii U, Nintendo has the most potential to really impress people with great games, great content. You guys are focusing way too much on all the little things that you're putting into your console when the primary function of the Xbox should be the gaming first. I mean, you can focus on your tablets, your operating system, but that shouldn't be what makes your console. So I think Microsoft's going to make a huge mistake next year and continue to focus on that. Sony, they said they're going to come out with a PS4. I fully expect them to really unveil a lot more about it next year and possibly some launch titles for that. I think they're ready to do that. Nintendo, basically what K-Man said, Nintendo's just got the most potential now next year to really impress people with games.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I pretty much agree with K-Man's prediction exactly, in that Nintendo has the most potential next year because they'll obviously have their Wii U. And the other consoles will probably, or the other companies will probably be previewing their new consoles. But after that, I think the Wii U will unfortunately be overshadowed. But really quickly, I do just want to say that, kind of like what Mega was saying, I hope we get more surprises at future E3s rather than this conservative releasing details about things that have already been announced. I mean, look at Sega. They said their Sega Saturn is available tomorrow. So
okay, but look how that turned out for them.
Well, we're not looking at like, oh, it's tomorrow. No one's prepared to buy them tomorrow, but just like the surprise element.
Now, how exciting was that? That was probably imagine sitting in the audience. That was probably the most exciting announcement ever.
I think they were more dumbstruck and like, are they serious or are they like on drugs right now?
But that's the type of thing that makes E3 exciting, is those announcements.
They're probably on drugs when they made Connectimals, honestly.
And that's why Watch Dogs received, is that the name of it? Yeah. That's why it received so much hype and well-deserved hype and attention. And that's what they need. They need more new things at E3. So that's what I hope for anyway.
And the thing is, though, they're not going to do it if... I mean, the industry, unfortunately, has become one of playing it safe. It's become, the sequels are obviously commonplace because they with the advent of, like, Facebook games and iPad games and Steam that has cheap games, you want to make sure to play it safe and be able to get the bucks. If you want to try to convince them to make more risks, then vote with your wallet in a way. Don't buy the games if you really don't, if you don't want to see more of it. If you don't want to see more New Super Mario Bros., don't buy it.
Right.
Or but don't buy it.
Mm-hmm. And you got to polarize people too. You're not going to please or impress everyone. Call of Duty, I hate Call of Duty now, but they have millions of people that play it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay,
PK.
Well, actually, I want to step in really quick, if that's okay, PK.
Okay.
Fine.
I'm just gonna since we are kind of reaching the 2-hour mark. I don't know, like very, very quickly, if there's something you need to say about this particular discussion, like go ahead and do that now. But like, if it's something that can be summarized in like the final thoughts and like the thing when we're gonna go around it individually, then just wait.
I thought that's what we were doing.
No, we're talking about next year.
Oh.
Yeah, that's like this year specifically. That's later.
Pay attention, Gaia.
I don't know, but okay, go ahead, PK, if you want to say that really quickly.
All right. I was actually reading my new issue of Game Informer while you guys were going around, while still listening. But anyway, what do I want to see at the next E3?
Smash Brothers.
But most importantly, I want to see attention given to the long-lost, forgotten, neglected franchises of the world.
Ice Climbers.
Star Tropics.
What?
Star Tropics.
Ice Climbers.
No.
Quest.
I'm talking about F-Zero. I'm talking about Star Fox. I'm talking about Breath of Fire. And I could go on, but the list will just get overbattled. Because there are a lot of Luigis out there in the gaming world. Remember them, developers. Remember.
Okay.
Amen to that, I'd say.
Well, I suppose everything that's been said has kind of been said. I mean, honestly, Xbox really did have potential. Tommy pretty much preempted me there, but I mean, they really need to diversify more, because right now all they're showing is that, hey, we have Kinect and we're shooters, and that's it, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
we have ESPN.
We have ESPN
In Spanish.
1, ESPN 2, ESPN 3,
But,
ESPN
like,
Show.
I was just going to say
Honestly-
ESPN 8, the Ocho.
Honestly, yeah, but honestly, I really hope they start diversifying more. And if they do start coming out with the consoles, then hopefully it'll be able to put Kinect and move behind. I'm thinking that if Sony and Microsoft do decide on continuing the whole motion sensor thing, I mean, if they think that's a market, I hope they have something that's unique for both consoles. And since it's going to be coming out with the consoles, they have that opportunity. Their motion censoring should be better. But this is assuming that they go that route. If they just go the Move was a failure, the Kinect was a failure, then we'll probably won't see any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, as for me, I'm going to kind of save that for my ending thoughts, but I think we are ready now to probably kind of just very quickly summarize what we thought, and one thing I'd like to ask is, of course, who do you think won, and by who do you think won, I mean mostly the big three consoles, but if you want to say the third-party conferences, go ahead as well, and then also most anticipated game.
I was going to say that to make sure everyone said the most anticipated game.
Okay.
You want me to start? Go in order.
Should we just go in the order?
That's what I was thinking.
Okay, sure, that works. So, Mega, you go first.
So, I've kind of already said it throughout, but basically I do think Nintendo did the best, but overall I think they kind of, it's more of from my perspective, I think pretty much I could also easily argue Sony and Nintendo were kind of on par. I do think Ubisoft did the best, technically, but if I'm going only big three, I'd say Nintendo, Sony not doing too far behind. But overall, I think the E3 was just, again, kind of, people had a lot of expectations and had a lot of hype build up, and they were disappointed because a lot of that hype wasn't met. It was just kind of business as usual a little bit, which wasn't bad, and if you were happy with what they showed, then you wouldn't be disappointed. But for a lot of people, I can understand why, nothing was really, their hype wasn't met, and there wasn't anything extraordinary, shown. So, overall, I think it was a very safe E3, which can be bad in a lot of ways. In some ways, it was, but I don't think it honestly was that bad of an E3. People said it was the worst E3, and I think it was just kind of safe. My most anticipated game. Can I divide it up between handhelds and consoles? Because it'll be hard not to.
Sure.
Paper Mario for the handhelds and Rayman Legends for consoles.
Okay. K-Man.
All right, my turn. Who won E3? Out of the 5 conferences, I think Ubisoft won. I think that's a hands down because of what they presented and how they presented. Out of the big 3, I'm only going to say Nintendo won because of what's going to happen next year and how they set them. how their marketing cycle has set themselves up for next year, whereas the other two companies are going to be a little lagging behind. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason. I don't think, out of the actual presentations themselves, I don't think I could really say there's the big winner. Other than Microsoft, you are the biggest loser. And for most anticipated game, I don't even think I need to say it. I think we all know.
3, by the way.
Just Dance 4.
Ice Climbers 3DS.
Far Cry 3.
A guy got it, Far Cry 3.
Sing!
Just say it.
Good.
It's Pikmin 3, obviously. Just mostly for the fandom.
Okay. PK, your turn. Buddy.
Yeah. I have to pretty much side with Cayman on this one. If we're just judging on conferences alone, Ubisoft is the clear winner. But if we're just judging on the big three, nobody really wins. Microsoft loses. But most importantly, I think no conference really blew me away exactly, besides with the exception of Ubisoft. But all of them did have some good games to offer, so none of them bombed. It was an okay E3. They were playing it safe. They know who their markets are. They know who's going to buy their games. They didn't do that bad. None of them did. But as for most anticipated game, PlayStation All-Stars. Now let me tell you something. That game could possibly beat Smash Bros. At its own game. It just has to remember, retain the simplicity, yet hidden depth of Smash Bros., provide a better online experience than Smash Bros., and the third part, which is entirely up to the players and the quality of the game itself, needs to be a strong community for it, because a strong community can extend a game's lifespan massively.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Melee.
Cough, Team Fortress 2.
Yeah, Team Fortress 2 and Melee. Those are both pretty old games by this new decade standards, yet they're still going and going and going. They've outlasted games in their genres that came out later than them. Mm-hmm. That's the power of community. Thank you. I'm done.
Okay, Gaia Crusher 9.
Alright, well, as far as the big three, I'd put the edge out on Sony just a little bit. Again, I said my bias, so... in general, again, Ubisoft, I mean, etc., etc. Most anticipated game, honestly, I'd have to say Watch Dogs. Like, out of all the things, that's the one that stuck with me the most.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Shadow Mario 41.
Well, as the leader of the 41 Alliance, I will say that sticking with the the big three consoles, that Sony I thought was the front runner, with Nintendo second and Microsoft third. I thought that was pretty clear cut for me. Probably the gap between Sony and Microsoft smaller than the gap with or Sony and Nintendo rather. The gap smaller than Microsoft was kind of left in the dust. But most anticipated game, The Last of Us. Very excited because I love the Uncharted series, and if it's more of that, then that's exactly what I want. So.
You just want Nathan Drake to have your babies.
No, that's what Sully's for.
No, he clearly wants Elena Fisher.
Oh, God.
Fisher.
Okay.
Or I wouldn't complain about Chloe either, personally.
Okay, Power to Mario.
Okay. I'm not going to pick a winner for the big three. I'm obviously more excited for Nintendo's games than I am for the other two, but they honestly didn't set themselves apart, in my opinion. Not really. Mm-hmm. But definitely not. This isn't a dead horse being beaten. This is a live horse being beaten.
We're petting it. We're petting the horse.
We're petting it. Sorry, not beating, petting. We're petting Ubisoft. Ubisoft, my goodness. That was surprising. Just like all the titles, they showed off gameplay. Man, Ubisoft really impressed me. But most anticipated console title for me, that's tough. I'm gonna say just Watch Dogs and the Wii U release of Assassin's Creed for console. Both of those, and those are types of games that I don't normally play, so that's pretty cool. Handheld game most anticipated, probably Paper Mario. That's probably the only one I can think of.
Okay, well I get.
Did we skip SM, or was I blanking
No,
out?
we got SM.
No, he was
We got
there.
SM.
Okay, I blanked out.
Yeah.
I mean, I could talk more if you want.
That would not be necessary.
No.
That'll not be necessary. Anyway, I guess that means it's my turn. As usual, like Microsoft did not win. That's kind of goes without saying at this point. I think everyone agreed they came in last. For me, I think it's so hard to say. I've been disputing this the last 2 days, but I'm going to briefly give it to Nintendo. Just very briefly, though. I think that Sony definitely did what they should have done. Like we said in the preview podcast, they could have played it safe and they would have done just fine. I feel like that's what they did, and they were good, and they still announced some really cool titles and showed off some really good footage. But I think just in general, Nintendo just handled it a lot better than the other conferences did. Like, they showed what they needed to show. They did not stall really much on anything. The only thing they really kind of stalled on was maybe like Nintendo Land, but even then, like, they went overtime just to talk about it more, and that was the last thing they were going to show. And I think because of that, like, it's not that big of a deal. But, like, again, they showed all their features, they handled it very professionally, and I think that's just that's what makes them the winner in the long run. Although I think that, like you other guys, Ubisoft was definitely like the biggest surprise. They definitely showed off the best content and had the most surprises as well. So they were definitely kind of the shining stars of this E3. And I think what people need to realize is that I think everyone definitely got caught up in this E3, and it's kind of like what Mega said, but like everyone was kind of anticipating to being like super surprised and being thrilled about all these new games. But in reality, like I guess it really wasn't time for that. Like it was all about kind of playing safe this year, and I think that's what people kind of like didn't realize, and that's why so many people were disappointed. And in all honesty, it wasn't really that bad of an E3. It just was kind of underwhelming.
Bad timing.
Yeah, bad timing. It was kind of underwhelming, but in a way, like, it kind of had to be this year. So I guess in the end it does make sense. As for...
The calm before the storm.
Wait, what did you say?
I said the calm before the storm.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put that. But anyway, my most anticipated game would probably be Pikmin 3. I've been waiting for it for a long time. I was really impressed with what I saw. It looks great, and yeah, that's all I can really say about it.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that
we made it.
I think that about does it for E3 2012 this year. I'm sure we can, I don't know, maybe do something like this again next year. I'm sure that we'll all be following it like we did this year. So,
if there is a next year.
Yeah, if there is a next year.
December 1st.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well,
just
I think that's gonna about wrap it up. This has been Crystal Star Studio. This has been Slim Kirby, and just very quickly, everyone else.
Mega Freak 400.
K-Man Rules 1331.
The Pasta King.
Bye, question 9.
Shadow Mario 41.
Power to Mario.
That's it. See you guys next year.
Ciao.
See ya.
Yeah!
Yeah, boobies!
Warp Star.